Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank you all for taking our time to join us on this wonderful event. My name is Akin Shalamuse, co-convener, Quorum Nigeria. Nice to meet you all. I will open my remark with something I put together concerning the theme of today's edition on Quorum Nigeria, which is targeting at a roadmap to a sustainable policy on education. You all will agree with me that there is no way a nation can be competitive in today's world without uneducated citizens. Illiteracy is directly linked to crime, bigotry, and social unrest experienced in every part of the country today. And this is because our government at every level have paid little or no attention to education over the years. Before I leave the floor for the panelists, I would like to quote Victor Hugo. He said, "He will open the doors, he will open the school doors, closes the prison door." It is my belief that at the end of today, we'll be able to come up with a solution to our educational system and make ourselves proud, even our country. Thank you, guys. Now we have a few of our panelists. We have two more people coming. I would like to welcome Elvis Boniface, founder, DJs. We also have Akalaja, president, founder, Yada University. I've seen that. We on seat is our Ali friend, friend of the house, Joseph Akumbiade, co-founder, but we welcome you all, our friends, Ikena, good friends. We welcome you all, Akinwale Muse, Yinka Komolafe, and the Quorum and Advertise Group. Everyone here, we thank you for supporting us. So we are getting to the business of the day now. I will start with Elvis. Today we are discussing a roadmap to a sustainable policy on education. But before we do that, lest I forget my Oga. Please everybody welcome Bola Afanino. As a convener of Quorum Nigeria, apparently this journey started in December 2016. He called me that we need to start doing something to impact people's life. That this is not all about making money, but how can we impact people's life and support our own country. And ever since then, we've been working. He worked twice harder than I do on Quorum, but it's my honor, and I'm very, very proud that today we are here putting this together 7 months down the lane. So let me welcome Bola Afanino once again.
Thank you very much. Before we go ahead, I would just like us to rise up while we say the national anthem before we do anything, because we are here for our country, no matter how it is. Thank you.
Hello. Right about now, I would like to introduce one of our panelists that are just working now, Lange Ogundepe. Please come to the seat. Is the CEO, founder of Imperial Educational Service. He's always been a friend of Quorum from day one. We are delighted to have you here, Lange. And again, right on time, is Mrs. Tola Salau. Miss Mr. Lafaru, please come to the stage, please. She's the president and founder of Charisma for You. You are welcome. Thank you all for being here. All right, Ngbola.
Thank you very, very much, everyone. Everyone of our participating partners, I want to say thank you so much for coming. No matter how we see this gathering as little as it is, I believe that the impact that we're going to make right here, right now, will go beyond each and every one of us here. So now, why education, if you may ask? A lot of people just wonder if I just woke up all of a sudden from a slumber and just trying to make or do something that will change things. And it's at the realization of having your own child and that makes you to understand that all the things that you have been through is not supposed to be so for our own kids. Because growing up for me, I wouldn't say I was from a silver spoon, but I was very, very opportune to have the best of education. And looking at it till today, the education system is going down the drain. If by the time each and every one of our participating partners is talking now, I'm sure they will go through, first of all, they will talk about the underfunding of the education sector. They will talk about the curriculum. I still don't understand why till date, everyone keeps talking about the same thing, but nothing has changed. UNESCO says spend at least 26% of your budget on education. We are in a country where we spend between 6 and 7%. Between 6 and 7% of the budget. How do you... Huh? That's another story. So how is that sustainable? I mean, if I can't start to go from point to point and to highlight what is going on in our education sector. I was opportune to study abroad, and I know the difference. The difference is just way too much. And now look at it. I was listening to former Minister for Works and Housing, and he said it's a product of the Nigerian education system all through. Yes, it's sound, but can he say the same thing about the people coming after him? Can he say the same thing about the people in the public secondary school and primary schools? So that's why we are here today, to even look at ways, through each of our own contribution, we want to be able to formulate a single policy. Because either we take it or leave it, sooner or later, somebody here or all of us here, we are going to attain that position of leadership. I see presidents here, I see ministers of education, I see commissioners of education here. So we don't want to make the same mistake the current administration is making. They made a lawyer the Minister for Works and Housing and Power, and it took several months to understudy the same ministry. We can't continue like this. So we are getting ourselves ready by coming together this way. I know that people will come back to this meeting to say, what was the outcome of this meeting? So that is why we are here today. So to just bring out some points that I just feel that, and I know every one of us here are going to touch on it. I'm looking at it I'm looking at our education system this way. One of the problems, aside from funding, is lack of responsibility, ownership from the government. Now, we know that we have the federal government, we have the state government, we have the local government. Federal governments, just as they are running primary school, they are running secondary school, they are running university. The same thing for state government. Now, you have not even been perfect at one. Why are you handling all forms of, all levels of education? So my take basically, from my own thinking, why can't we just allow the federal government handle university or tertiary institution alone? And state government can handle primary and secondary school. So we know who to turn to when there's issues with the federal, with the universities or the tertiary institution. And when it comes to the primary, we know we are going for the state government. So maybe they should come together, harmonize this thing. If the state government will hand over all the tertiary institutions that they have, hand it over to the federal government for proper management. I looked through the Ministry of Education. I looked through their website. They have like 21 parastatals, almost 18 boards. I mean, it's crazy. And if you look at all these boards, nothing is happening there. I was seeing National Library something, a lot of nonsense. So all these things are just ways I feel that they are just using to siphon money. Let us concentrate on the work at hand. That is why I for one, I believe the federal government should handle all tertiary institutions. The state government should handle primary and secondary education. I know by the time everyone is talking, I need people to contribute and ask questions. That's why we are having this kind of sitting arrangement. But for me, that's one of the things. Secondly, I can't even talk about the curriculum more. I have experts here. But just looking at it, while we were in secondary school, they were teaching us introductory technology, right? They said intro tech. What is in intro tech? Imagine if the brain that Joseph had today, imagine someone had it years back and they introduced coding as part of introductory technology to our own generation. What do you think will become of all of us here right now? What do you think will be of all of us? So yeah, we're talking about introductory nonsense. The same thing, they will say business studies and shorthand. What is that? Really? What is that? How are we making use of that in our everyday life? You see graduates today, I don't understand where technology has come to stay where you have office equipment. I don't even think I've seen so many graduates that don't even know how to use office equipment, PowerPoint, Microsoft Word. And you told me about your little 6-year-old niece schooling in London that did a presentation on PowerPoint. What did she do? Just went online and she did it. So we really, really have a lot to do. That is why I believe that let's all sit down here together. Let's have the document. Let's have another body do the advocacy for us. Why? Because we believe so much in collaboration. Without collaboration, we can't do anything. Nope. That is why each and every one of you seated here, you are positioned in a key sector of the education system that you are working on. That's why we are coming here together now. Let us come and bring one document out of everybody else, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. So this is how this works. We have these two seats there for contributors. If you have anything to say, you just stand up quietly and sit down there, and the mic will get to you. But in form of order, I would like to start with this. Since the mic is with Tolas Allow, start with you. So it's going to be top. Start from the bottom.
You're starting
from the bottom.
grassroots?
Yes. Now, I want us to start from there's something they call Head Start from Head Start. Head Start.
Oh, Head Start.
Yeah, it's a form of education whereby the government have provided for people that cannot afford to take their children to crèche. It's like, yeah, and then God funding it. And I went to research it. I realized that community are the one paying the tax for it. If you can't afford it, your child has to go to school. So if we don't really deal with crèche in Nigeria, but I want us to start with primary school. Then we take it to secondary school, we take it to the university level. But let's solve the problem per time through this class. I would like to start with Tola Salau on primary education. Okay. How do we go about this? I've seen a lot of primary school pictures, and then it brought tears to my eyes. Okay. Public school, basically. And I'm public, some private school too. What are the policy that can be implemented into providing a better solution for primary education in Nigeria? We would like you to share light on that.
Okay, of course. Great, it worked. All right, my name is Tola Salao, Adetola Salao, but my friends call me Tola. And like he said, I am very passionate about education. I am the director and co-founder of Charisma for You, and it's a non-profit. Wow. How do I begin to describe what I'm about? Because I'm not one of these people that likes to go on and on. I'm driven about how we're going to transform, how we're going to revitalize our educational system here in Nigeria, in particularly when it comes to science education. And when I say science, I mean STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I really believe they should be infused together. But he It's putting me on the spot. Yes, you are. In regards to primary school education. And you know what? I'm very passionate about our primary education because I believe in that phrase which says, catch them young. If you do not get our children when they are young, forget it, you lost them. And I was just explaining to somebody who I just met minutes ago that I started teaching my son the concepts of science when he was in primary school. There's a reason I did that. I didn't wait until when he was in JS1 for him to now start understanding science. You have to get them interested and fall in love and build up their curiosity when they're young. So it's very, very important to start. So going back to what do we need to do in primary school to make it work for us? My God, the work is plenty at that stage. If I was given the mandate of restructuring, because that's the only thing that needs to happen, restructuring our primary school education, I will first of all start with our teachers. Because you see, one of my catchphrases that I use over and over and over is that you cannot give what you don't have. If our teachers, unfortunately, a lot of them don't have the basic, how will I put it, the foundation of being able to give quality content. So how do you expect so much from them when they don't even have it? So I will first of all start with that. I will start with making sure that we train our teachers adequately, make sure that they have sound content. Let me tell you, once you take care of that, you've taken care of at least 75% of the problem. I'm sure I'm going to get an amen to that. Amen. That's right. Once you've done that, you've taken care of 75% of the problem. Then, I was just also explaining to another person that I believe there are three major ingredients for success. And one of the major of these three ingredients is environment. We do not have enabling environments here in Nigeria. I'm sure everybody will also say amen to that one too. We do not have enabling environments. Primary school is a place where you're supposed to explore and discover and be happy and enjoy learning. Primary school is not that way in a lot of our schools, particularly our private schools. So I will redo the way they set up for our primary schools. That's another thing that I will do. So I've mentioned two, training teachers, environment. Then the third one, to me this is the biggest one. I mean the other two are really, really important. But you see, when you are designing something, whatever you're starting with, the starting material, it has to be good material. If it's inferior material, then you have a problem. So why do I say that? I will also want to work on the minds of our children. And unfortunately, a lot of our children now, they've been poisoned against education. I know a lot of people will be saying, Auntie, what are you talking about? I'm sorry, I know what I'm saying. We do not have, oh, you agree with me, yes. We do not have the kind of zeal and love and fervor for education that we used to have when I was growing up. Let me give you a case in point. When I first came back to Nigeria, yes, I went to school in the States too. I went to Unilag. I love Unilag. I love Unilag. I went to Unilag to go buy books for my son because I love reading and I wanted to make sure that I pass that love to my son. And since it's so important to me, and I know it's a basic building block of learning, if you do not have comprehension, that is, you don't love reading, you don't love amassing material, believe me, everything else will fly over your head. And anybody can sell you any lie. That's why we're in a lot of trouble here in Nigeria now. Because people don't know how to go back and read and decipher information for themselves. So I went to the bookstore, the bookshop in Unilag to buy books for my son. And I bought a lot of these books. And they were looking at me like, is this woman nuts? And I was just buying them. I was just putting them in the box. Then one man even came to me and said, Auntie, let me help you now. The books are plenty. I said, it's okay. He said, no, Auntie, do you have a school? I said, no, I don't have a school. And then, Auntie, why are you buying this many books? And I remember I'm still buying more and I'm still putting more into the box. And I said, do I have to have a school in order for me to buy this amount of books? But why do you need this many books, Auntie? I said, you know what? Look at the titles of these books. Each of them covers different specters, different areas that I want my son to understand. When I'm reading to him, when I'm talking to him about this, I want he and I to be able to talk about anything in the world. I don't want any limits on his mind. And the guy is just looking at me like, what is this woman talking about? You see, right there, that's the problem. Before, when I was growing up, buying that many books, they will even be praising you. They'll even be commending you. Now they're looking at me like, this woman is wasting money. What is she doing? I even buy books from these, what do we call these people that sell them, the hawkers on the road. I buy books from them and I take them home to my son. And I buy a lot of those books too. And they also look at me like, what is wrong with this woman? Because I'm talking, I don't buy 4, I don't buy 6, I buy books. When I'm bringing things in from the States, I buy lots of books. You should see boxes. I give them out to my son is old enough. I give them out because I don't believe in retaining. I believe I should also pass them on to other people too. So people look at me like, what is wrong with this woman? But you see, I grew up with that. And that's the kind of culture that some of us had when we were growing up. I say some, because not all. And that's another reason why we have these problems in this country, because not all of us had that. Some of us had that. But you see, it's even getting worse. It's getting less and less and less as we have this worship of money. Because yes, we are worshiping money now. We don't worship knowledge anymore. So I'm coming back to, we need to create this love, this desire, this thirst for knowledge for our children. You see why these people that are succeeding so well, I'm going to round up because I don't want to take all our time. Like Elon Musk, like Zuckerberg, those kind of people, why you see them excelling and doing so well is the parents that raised them were people who absolutely loved knowledge and they passed that to their children, this desire, this zest, this thirst for it, that they don't care what they have to do to get it. Do you see how much schooling some of them have done? Elon Musk went to 2 different universities to get 2 different bachelors. He reminds me of myself because my son makes fun of me. I have 2 masters myself. He's like, Mommy, why in the world did you do that? You understand? But I explained to him, of course. But the point is, we need to start creating that again. So those are the 3 things that I will work on for primary school. If I was teachers, the environment, and the mindset of our children. Thank you.
A round of applause for Tola, please.
Sorry, Tola, sorry.
Yes.
I know that you are a strong believer in the STEM system, the science, technology, and so now, I just told him that he shouldn't streamline you or tell you, okay, just primary education, because obviously your own part is majorly when you are getting to your secondary education. If I'm correct.
No.
Okay.
No. Like I just told you, I believe in catch them young.
Okay.
I don't believe that you should wait until they're in secondary school to boost their science.
Okay.
I believe in fact, people were even asking me at a school that I went to go do a STEM week for them. It was a creche school, creche to kindergarten. And they were like, Auntie, why are you going to go and work with her? I said, you're wrong. Don't look at it like, they're too little. They're actually the best age. Because they're very curious. They asked me so many questions. I got on my knees. I did so many things with them. They're excited. They're curious. They want to talk to you. They want to hear you. And once you start building it then, you continue to build it when they're in primary school. By the time they're in secondary school, believe me, they're on fire. But once you lose them between that creche, primary school, by the time they're in secondary, they're like, I want boring, stupid subject.
So how will this system work crossing over to the secondary education where we know that the system is even much more terrible than it is?
Oh, God, brother. Well, what do you mean with system? Do you mean how we implement? Oh, our own secondary school system. Brother. Our secondary school system, man. Where do you even start?
Do you believe in the 6-3-3-4 system?
Yes. I actually like it. I don't know why they script it. To be honest with you, I don't know why. I see so many merits for it. I'm not saying it's perfect because it has its own issues, but I see so many merits in it that I don't understand why they script it. I really don't. The reason why I see so many merits is maybe it's because of the background that I taught in when I was in the States. It's kind of similar to it. You know, in the States we have, what do we call it again? Elementary, middle school, high school. So it's kind of almost like that. And the reason why I like that system is there's something special that happens in middle school. That's when the children are in adolescent age. That's when they're undergoing a lot of change. So the way you deal with them and teach them is very different. Same thing when you now come to our own system too. 6 is the primary school. That's the one that a lot of us just turn our eyes and say our primary school. Then 3, that's that middle school time. The another 3 is the last when they're in quote unquote high school, like we say in America. Then 4 is the university. So I see so many similarities. I see how they treated and were able to do it right. Like I said, when I tell people all the time, America is not perfect. In fact, America has lots of problems. But at least she's trying when it comes to education. So what we were trying to do with that 6-3-3-4 system, it had a lot of good. Had it been, they allow it. You know the problem we have in Nigeria? We'll start something. Before we can even finish it, they'll just abandon it. Then somebody else will now come and do another thing because they want to make money from it. Then another person will come again and try another thing. So there's no continuity. And you and I know that when you're doing business, what's key? Consistency. So that's another problem we're having here is consistency. So you're coming back to secondary school. One key issue that I'm seeing with us, with our children in secondary, is this same thing, consistency. We start a foundation, because what's the foundation? Foundation is primary school. By the time we get to secondary school, that's JS1, JS2, JS3. We don't continue what we're trying to do with them. We begin to flounder, okay, do we do 6 subjects with them? Or do we do 10 subjects? Forget all that, whether we're doing 10 or 6. The key thing is build those teachers. The environment, same thing I just mentioned again, the environment is good. Make sure that the mindsets of the children are worked upon. I know why I keep mentioning mindset. The reason why you always see Japanese, Chinese, Indian students succeed and master is because they've gotten that mindset thing down, but trust me, they have it to a science. If you and a Chinese person are studying right now for a test, not that they are more brilliant than you, but their mindset, they don't give up. They do not give up. That's the mindset thing. We need to go back to working on that again. So that's what it is.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Please, Mike. Please, I'd like you to share with us your own thought on this.
Okay. In the educational business for about 7 years now. So what we're doing basically with what he said is we're trying to look at an avenue where we go into a public-private partnership in education. The government is doing it with a lot of other parastatals, with road networks, with NEPA, with all these other things. So why don't we look at, because now if we look at the educational system in Nigeria, either a public school student or a private school student. So now we know that the public school doesn't have the same standard that the private schools have. So what we're looking at is the initiative I was talking about that day is the private organization, bodies like NAPS and APEN and them lot can go to the government as one body and say, look, this is primary and secondary schools. You guys are handling it wrong, okay? You have, like, if you look at most of the government primary schools and secondary schools, well, she talked about something, environment. Those schools have environment. They have large spaces for children to be able to play around, to be able to do. But private individuals cannot afford to have schools that big. So if we have a place that the government can give, as like a state school, for example, and we have private people that run private schools, run those places, you have large numbers of students studying in a large environment and the tuition can also be subsidized. Because now, education is now a thing that, on every street you go on, you see a school. There are probably more schools than churches and mosques nowadays, almost at the same, because, I can take where I stay, for example, Magodo. In Magodo, almost every street in Magodo has a school. And that's true. You stay in Magodo as well. Do you understand? So, and you see that replicated in so many places. But we don't need that. We don't need so many schools. We need good schools. Do you understand? And the thing is, each of these schools would want to have a teacher, a head teacher, all of that. And if you look at it honestly, has teaching gotten to the level that we actually really wanted to get to in terms of teaching as a profession? Now, a lot of people go into teaching as the last option, right? Now, we look at things like the NYSC. The NYSC sends people to schools. Where do they send them? It's public schools. These people probably don't even care about those students, don't have any training whatsoever. There are so many initiatives that are being, they probably have the idea because they know, but the implementation is wrong. Do you understand? I put down a couple of things while she was talking. She talked about the 3 things, which is teachers training, lack of enabling environment, and the mindset of the children. Right. I think I'm going to go a bit further into that, and I'm going to go into the family, which is something that I should mention that I think she missed it out. Before we go into primary school education, we start from the family, from the home. That's where everything starts from. So you as a parent, you as an individual, how much of education are you giving your child? Because for the first 5 years of a child's education, in the US or a lot of other countries, they don't go to school for the first 5 years in terms of like proper school. They go to creche and all that. But those years are the cognitive years of a child where the child starts to recognize things like colors. In the first 6 months as a child, you start to get aware. You know your mom, you know your dad. Even if they can't talk, in 6 months, they already know. I mean, you have a son as well, so I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So these are the moments where you start to understand your child. The time your child starts to sit, how they react, when he needs food, what does he do? These are the times you start. So parents, first of all, have the first responsibility in understanding their children. A lot of people just take their children to school believing that their children would learn. Now, another thing is understanding how your child learns. Because we realize that a lot of parents have given the job of teachers to the schools. They don't want to parent anymore. Parenting has been given to the schools. The schools are meant to teach. You are meant to still be the parent. And the parent is, the value that the parent gives the child is the first thing the child learns before the child gets into school. So now before we even start talking about the values of the school, how good the schools are, what we can get in school and all that, you have to first of all say what are the parents giving to their children? Because at age 3, your child already can talk. But what are the things he's saying, the things that he hears in the house? So what are the things you are feeding that child with at home first? That's how I look at it. If you're looking at education, you have to start from the root cause. There's something we always call a root cause analysis. I'm sure so everybody, you go down to the root of a matter. So whatever it is that we see education as a problem. Yes, education is a problem, but what are the root cause of education? Now, I can afford to send my child to a private school. You can. A lot of us can. But the ones who can't, do we say that that is the end of life for them? Do you understand? So now, if they can't afford to send their children to primary school, what can they do? Because they are the ones that have knowledge. They are the ones that have exposure. They can come outside. They can access things. That's where we introduce technology. Now, we're trying to drive technology in such a way that technology can be accessed in every single home, right? So at Imperial, what we did at Imperial was we separated the organization into 4 main services. We have a placement service where we place people to study abroad. We have a technology service, which is Imperial Tech. We also have a training service, which is LearnCrafts, where people get to learn vocational courses and things like that. And then we also have an exposure arm, which is Toducate, which has to do with tourism and education. Because we believe that exposure is one of the only other things. And when you're looking at education, you look at education in 2 ways. You can look at localized education and globalized education. So how do you want to educate your child, in a global mindset or in a local mindset? Now, if you want to start from looking at, say, Nigeria as a whole in retrospect, the first thing we need to learn, or we need to know around Nigeria, how many people, because we live in Lagos, we're advantaged, number one. Every single school in Lagos has an advantage, no matter how you look at it. Every school in Abuja has an advantage, because these are the big cities. So every single school that you go to in Lagos can afford to get a teacher that can speak good English anywhere in Lagos. Anywhere in Lagos, a teacher that can, even a public school, you can pick any school. A teacher can get there that can speak good English. But what happens to the far north, those areas? Then what do you now want, how do you want to start? Because if you are looking at education, we have to bring everybody in. So everybody has to be a part of this system. So those guys in the north, those guys in those very, very rural areas, first of all, the teachers, their teachers, do they have the quality, like she said, to teach? Do they have the right content? Now, is teaching in English the right way? That's another question we need to ask. So we're Nigerians. I lived in Ukraine for some years, so I speak Russian, right? And if you realize, a lot of Russians, they have technology, right? And if those guys come out and have conversations with you, yes, they've taken their technology to a global scale, but they learned it in their own local language, right? But they were able to take localized content on a global scale. So that's another way we can look at education. Not just trying to attract global education into a local area. So taking a local education and scaling it out globally. So now, either scaling it out within the nation or outside the nation. So we can take, for example, Hausa language content. Try to deliver this same curriculums that we have in different languages to schools. Let's start from the very, very basic point of where we are lacking. That's the root cause. First of all, can these people even communicate in English language? Because every content that we have right now across Nigeria is in English. Core content, if you are looking for, yeah.
Sorry to cut you short. It's amazing to see that Google, Yahoo, and all these companies are actually trying to reach you through your language.
Yes, yes, yes.
And we are still forcing the education on these people by those their own language. Which I understand the point.
Yeah, so that's also what I'm talking about, because with the placement business that we do, where we place students into universities, we realize from our students that when you travel, you have the option to either, even in those countries that are not English-speaking countries, their citizens have the option to either learn in English or in their local language. It's also something that we can look at. You don't have to learn in English. You can actually learn in Yoruba and still become, because this is Nigeria, no matter how we look at it. Let's not take Nigeria away from Nigeria. You know, we're becoming so westernized in Nigeria that actually the actual Nigeria as a country is losing itself and losing its value and losing its own identity. Do you understand? So, I mean, we all want to be global, that's the truth, but you can still be local and global. Very, very possible. A lot of Russians don't speak English. I keep saying that. A lot of Chinese people don't speak English. Do you understand? They just have to learn English because, you know, they're taking whatever. And the honest truth is, yes, you can earn more by, you know, globalization brings more revenue. Yes, that's true. But a lot of businesses are running very, very fine in the US, in China, in all these countries, locally without even going out of those countries because they are serving the people in the country. This is an idea I'm throwing out to anybody who wants to take up on it. To go and start an Igbo lecture from primary 1 to SS3. All the Nigerian curriculum is available. Get it in Igbo, get it in Hausa, get it in Yoruba. I think once we start from there, let's go to the root cause. Let's go to those guys who don't actually have access to this education. Not just the ones that, you know, understanding. I mean, that's my 2 cents.
All right. Yeah, I will come back to you, Lange. Let me quickly pass to Joseph. I have a big question for you. But I want to raise something that I've not heard in a long time.
Okay.
Intotech.
Okay.
What is the technology in the Intotech that we teach in our school?
Okay.
I'm sure there is no technology in the Intotech that we teach in our school. Coming from the IT sector with your business and education, I would like you to speak on that. How can we use that to impact our education? And least, panelists, I don't want us to forget that the reason why we are here is to come up with a policy that we think the government can use to give us a sustainable education. I have notes of anybody, but I'd like you to speak on that.
Okay, my name is Joseph Agumbiade. I'm the co-founder of Budget, and and then I also run Smart Ed. It's an educational platform. You know, at Smart Ed, we're trying to do 2 things. You know, of course, it's policy geared. The first one is how to support in building. Because of lack of human resources, teachers and all that, we're thinking of supplementing learning with creating digital content. You know, so some of those remote places, if you know, like you said, we have the best of the teachers in Lagos and Abuja. We can actually take some of these teachers to the villages without leaving Lagos through by creating digital content. If the best maths teacher in Lagos teaches maths and it's available in video, take it to my village. They will equally learn, maybe under supervision of a copper. You know, so even though the NYC guy is not trained to be a teacher, he can at least supervise. Maybe after a 1-week training, he can go in and supervise the digital content that has been created by these best teachers from Lagos. You know, which is something. You know, and then on educational investment, tracking educational investment. You know, I mentioned to Bola Lawal, you know, that so every year you hear Japanese government, global partnership in education, you know, and all of them, they bring in a lot of money. So presently, global partnership in education said they're investing $100 million in education, and so they selected 5 states in the north. You know, I think Sokoto, Jigawa, Kano, and about 5 states, you know, and since 2015, so if till 2019, if we're to break it down, they've already spent like 2 years. If you go check it, you can hardly see so much that has been done. And the reason is simple. I mean, our budget, we are mainly donor-funded company. So, and we also I've worked as a consultant with DFID before. One of the things you see is that most of the money they say they spend in Nigeria is actually spent by them. So they bring a lot of the experts from their country. They pay them a lot of money. They put them in the best accommodation and all of that. So at the end of the day, even though they say they are spending $100 million, the real thing that might go to education might not actually be up to $30 million, at the end of the day. And so I'm beginning to, there's that interest to actually go into that space and track some of this spending. So those are the things we're looking at doing. All right. And to answer the question, the secondary school that I went to, actually, we have a lot of equipment. I won't mention the name because it's not too chateau. So we had quite a number of stuff. But, recently I was around there and what I saw was an eyesore, really terrible. And so what has happened is that over time, it has actually degenerated seriously. What we would have had is a transitioning from what technology was into what it's becoming, which is coding. It would have been seamless. But you see, there's no long-term plan in some of those, the people that put those things together, they're not even there anymore. And when you look at some of the structures we used to have in education, it's no longer there. It was complaining about the parastatal. Every federal government college is a parastatal under Ministry of Education. It's a parastatal. I think their principals are usually directors, and so that's how it is structured. But unfortunately, they don't have that training. So 2 years ago, I was training all the head of federal directors, the vice principals and the principal of federal government colleges in Nigeria and Abuja. And, surprisingly, I discovered that federal government had made millions of dollars investment in each of the federal government colleges. They all have computer centers. Galaxy Backbone is paid millions every year to actually provide internet in all the federal government colleges in Nigeria. A lot of people don't know. I didn't even know that. I was training them on e-learning. And they say they have it. In fact, Queen's College, they told me that they provide, if you come into JS1, you are given tablet.
School media.
Eh?
School media, don't you?
Aha. So, you are given tablet, that where is the content? Which is also a challenge to some of us here, which is when I talk about Abuja to Lagos journey, which is something I would like to actually talk about. But you see, I would like to go to the fundamental challenge which you have. When you look at after we received our independence, we're not actually prepared, when we received the independence. So a lot of sector which education fall under, health sector is suffering the same thing, What we have was that, we took independence, some of these white people had to go back and, we needed teachers. And so we didn't have qualified teachers like in the north. I was born in the north. My parents still live in Kaduna, And so I can tell you that, we don't have teachers because Kaduna is even better. But when you go to Borno, where I served before my degree and all that, from the local government chairman office, when I look down into the primary school next to him, the roof is open so I could see the classroom from the roof. From local government chairman, Ali Kotoko, that's the guy's name. This Kotoko Barak in Abuja, I think it's his father's name that they used to name. He's a very young man. I think he was under 30 then. From his office, I was looking down and the kids were sitting on the floor, broken ground, no wooden chairs. And he was actually sharing 2,000 naira to everybody who queued when the allocation came in that year. It was really terrible. That was the worst of it that I've ever seen, And so there they didn't even have the secondary school leaver that we started deploying to teach in secondary school. And when you look at it, the way it happens is that when we finish secondary school, the best of the class goes to the university, the next best go to Polytechnic, and then the people who didn't make 5 credits, they go to NCE. And some of them that probably, can't make it into the university, will push them to NCE. Yeah, military and all that. So, we that is how we started. And over time, that was a temporary solution to the fact that we didn't have enough teachers. But as time goes on, there was no strategy to change that over time. That as we grow in population and all that. In the 90s, I was surprised to see that our population was just 90-something million. So in the last 20 years, we actually doubled, our population, Yes, we're about 91 million or so. Now we are talking about 180 million. I was surprised to see that start, And so look at that amount in the last 20 years, what kind of investment has happened in education? So between Babangida and now, the amount that goes into education has actually dropped drastically. So, and in the last 20 years, our population has gone up. And so when we look at this, this disconnect, we can see that that is where the problem started from. And so today, people are building private universities, private polytechnic. I've not seen any private college of education. If there are, there will be very, 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 few. And of course, the quality of people that we accept there at the end of the day is also very poor. So these are issues that we need to start addressing if we must actually make any major change in our educational system. And so, okay, I'll also talk about Abuja to Lagos journey, what I call the Abuja to Lagos journey. You see, in Lagos, more than 65% of the transaction that happen in Nigeria, business transaction happen in Lagos. So what it means is that out of the 36 states and the FCT, the remaining 36 of them actually shares like 35%. All right, and that was like 3 years ago that I got that start. I'm sure it has really gotten worse for other states as oil revenue has dwindled, And so what it means is that a lot of states that actually do less than 0.1, less than 1% of what happens in Nigeria, So whether you like it or not, Lagos drives what happens in Nigeria, So we make the difference. So in Lagos, what I'm saying is that in Abuja, they make the policy. They sit down, they invest a lot of money. Sometimes you can actually just judge these government people that they're not doing anything. They actually spend a lot of money, all right, in education. A lot of investments. They get the McKinseys, they get all of them to put some of these things together. But at the end of the day, this thing remains as document, and it's not implemented. And so what I call Abuja to Lagos journey is, let's take this policy and make it open. Let's make it very open so that the entrepreneurs that are springing up in Lagos, looking at solving educational problem, can actually see that, okay, these are the areas where there are challenges in Nigeria. And so if you are going to start a startup in education as a Lagos entrepreneur, all right, these are the issues you should be addressing. So you can actually develop the solution and take, to the other part of Nigeria. I work as a contractor for government, on the side. And each time I go to Abuja, you see the way they actually celebrate me, like, hey, this guy has come from Lagos. There's that high hope and expectation. And whether you like it or not, Nigeria is actually waiting on Lagos people, Lagos entrepreneurs to drive what is going to change the country. So we need to be able to open the policy up, all right, so that the new entrepreneurs that are springing up in Lagos, as we talk about entrepreneurship, they need to see these things so that at the end of the day, their contribution that go in there will be very, very significant. Per square meter in Yaba, you'll see at least 2 tech startups, who are, some of them even, they are just experiments. They don't even know what to do. If you can develop some of these solutions, there's girls coding in our building where budget is. Below here, we have Switch, which I'm part of. This is Civic Hive. Civic Hive is open to all sort of, innovation. There are some of the fellows here who are actually working on education. If you go down there, you have all sort of educational startups. We have Pass.ng is here. Tutor.ng is here. Prep class is here. I can just go on and on. So we need to see these things, all right? We need to expose so that our investment, our contribution ultimately will drive this change, So this is my little...
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Actually, this is very, very incredible. The story you give about education in the North is very, very not a good one. It's not a good one. I feel so bad the way our educational system has been deteriorated over the years. But our friend there, Ikena, told me something. He said in the East, now they start teaching people with their own language. They've been teaching them, but we'll come back to that. But I think we are getting into the mood now. So I'd like you to pass the mic to our friend here, Akin Laja. I can't continue again. I won't lie to you because it is very, 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 very situation what we've had in Nigeria over the years and what is still going on, and yet the government is not looking at this. Education is not on the agenda of this present government. I don't think so, because if the budget for FCT is greater than education and all those things, then when you can't educate your people, there will be nobody to buy the light or the cars or the road to drive on those roads.
Speak figures. For example, the budget for education, I remember it should be between 81 to 83 billion naira. Then the budget for water resources was 120 something.
Billion.
Come on, speak it. Power was, I think power was 200 and...
Something billion.
No. Power was 500 and something. Then they gave transport 240 or 250. Use numbers so that we can hear them and people can understand the gap.
You know,
that is bad.
It's bad.
Don't just say it in abstract. Thank you. See, he has it here. So read it to them. Let's read it. There you go. Let me take off my glasses. Come on now. All right. Water resources. Okay, I was wrong. Water resources is 85. Niger Delta is 61. Education is 50. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
85 for water resources, 50 for education. Transportation is 262. Now let's do the math, okay? 262 divided by 50 is what? That's 5 times.
5 times the amount.
5 times education, transportation over education. Okay? All right, let's go to defense. Well, defense, they'll say we are going. Okay, yes. Then he's saying I should also talk about the special intervention they have there. Special intervention is 150. 150 divided by 50 is what? 3 times. I mean, come on now. Then let's go to health. Health that everybody knows is critical. They gave health 51. That special intervention is what? 3 times that of health. And people are dying in this country. Speak figures so that people understand. Thank you, dear.
Thank you very much for that. You know, you just fired up everybody here. You fired up everyone here, the audience and everything. It's a notice.
All right.
I can see your eyes are red. You want to vent?
Okay. President of University, University for Alternative Academics. What I want to do is I want to make our current day universities irrelevant. And we're getting there. So I've heard people passionately speak about what's wrong with our educational system. And Bola knows I always take a different approach to different things. Because I'm involved across board. 6 years ago, 2011, I said to myself, I'm going to get involved in politics. Not because I went to King's College. So for instance, when people were busy traveling for UNESCO and UNICEF and United Nations, we were going for party. So, major. And so, yeah, we were, yes, it was our mentor then. Yeah, so those were the things we were doing. But I've been into activism from the age of 12. I've done UNICEF, UNDP, UNIDO, just name it. We have been in the center of it all. So over a period, I think I've had a global perspective to a lot of things. The first thing I'm going to say is what is the definition of education? Critical. When you understand what education is, then we will know how to create a sustainable model. The problem with Africa is that we are copying and we are pasting. And it's giving us problems. Now, there's something called the Singapore mathematics. Why? Because the Singaporeans said to themselves, what is the best way we can teach our children mathematics? They created something out of it. Why? So I do a lot of philosophy too, because I know that philosophy, social behaviors, how human coexist, human science. Humanities are the best to me, if you ask me. Because humanities determine how. We say it's science, yeah? But really, the humanities can determine our destiny, yeah? They can sit down and tell you whether your science will come to pass or not. Yeah. So I love philosophy a lot. So I studied too much about philosophy. And I found out that even the Americans are struggling with the educational philosophies they created. Yes. So if America is studying, we are in the 14th century. You know, when I go for global learning conferences abroad, and I hear the discussions they are having, I look at my African brothers. We're in the bush. We're in the 14th century. So people are talking about democratizing education. Wow. Robert Gordon University now, the law department no longer does exams. They do what they call case study and jury. That's your exam. Yes. That's a university where human beings exist, not antelopes. Yeah? So you begin to ask yourself different questions. There's a long value chain of educational challenges. But I will pick the definition of education and what we want to achieve with education. The reason people go to school It's so that you will not, so that your nuisance value will be low. Let me explain what that means. What that means is that the reason you and I go to school is so that we could contribute our own quota to the development of society. That's why we go to school. So when you hear children of these days say they don't want to go to school, we miss the point. What they are saying is that to be contributing members of the society, do they have to go to school? Now, if you understand these different phases, you will know how to solve the problem. So what is happening is that we are reacting. You must go to school. School is the best place. You are reacting. A child has said, Don Jazzy and the Banch did not go to school, yet they are billionaires. He has equated success and development and influence to lack of educational systems. You are then telling him that he must go to school. You see where the problem is? Now, that's because we have wrongly defined what education is. Education is simple. I don't need to go to educational because I went to school to go and learn it. When I read ICT as a basic course and I got passionate about education. Let me tell you why. I was in 300 and I went to a private university after Unilag kept us for a long time. So we went to a private university. Now this is me in a private university, so I wonder what my guys in public universities are having to deal with. I was physically present, I was spiritually absent. What that means is that at 300 level, a professor entered the class and said 98% of what I'm teaching you is not applicable. So I said to myself, why am I here?
Yeah.
But this is the problem. There is a demonic agency in Nigeria. People that are the demons of Nigeria. They are called NERDC. National Education Research Service. Those are the demons of Nigeria. Now, educational research is supposed to tell us how to advance education from curriculum and our learning models. That is what they are meant to be doing. I read, see, there are some documents you must never see. If you see them, you will burn as a rock. I promise you. You see, because I play at different areas, from politics to governance to entrepreneur, so I move into different sectors. So when people ask me, do you have any rest day? I find it difficult because Sunday you are in church, Monday you are in business, Wednesday you are in government. So there's hardly any rest day. It is. Do you know there is a wardrobe in Ministry of Education? Wardrobe. Papers written by professors of over 30 years on how Nigerian education system can evolve. It's locked up. Locked up. Nothing done with it. My friend Gozi Nwakoke is having a serious problem now, for instance. So Gozi came and said he wants to develop education in Nigeria. First of all, which is why everybody in this room must be engaged in governance. See, one policy can spoil all your years of hard work. If you are not involved in governance, make your voice heard in governance. I am inside the matter. I'm not playing. Not that after we have built 10 campuses, you now come with your demonic spirit and come and tell us that your policy, you close my school. There will be problem. So I better enter there now and start to fight you. First of all, your policy says, do you know it's a policy in Nigeria that you can't do only online school? It's a policy. So once you come from America with your vision and mandate, once you get into Nigeria, there's another demonic body. They are called National Universities Commission. They come to you and say, Oga, you cannot do online learning. There must be a physical space. It's a law. Now, that is one level of the demonic intervention. Another level is that you cannot run degree courses until there are certain number of professors in your system. So my friend goes in now, and he's now in a tight place. Now that's why you see goes to do executive education, BAU executive education, because he's trying to look for a way to disrupt it. So tell me, how will I do BSc in social media and big data? You can't. It's not a course you can run in Nigeria. Why? They are demons that have been professors for 35 years. And because they cannot teach that course, once your school is offering that course, you are already distorting their comfort zone. So we came up with Yadavasity. Yadavasity, we want to spoil everything for them. we want to create a school where degree will be useless. Utterly useless. See, you will go to school. When you are done, you will meet your professor. You know, a woman went to school one time and she said she did a BSc in 1976. She went for a master's in 1985 abroad. And she wrote an exam and answered a particular question and quoted a particular text. You know what the white man said? The white man said, you said you schooled in Nigeria. He said, yes. He said, were you in Dr. So and so's class? She said, yes, sir. How do you know? He said, this particular quote was what I gave to him when he came to study 15 years ago.
Wow.
You see, I don't like to say it, but all our family members in Nigerian universities are learning though. They are as well not going to school. Policy issues, we have to fight it. Our conversations have to be loud and we have to shout it. How can you make an Islamic journalist, my Minister of Education? Not to slight the religion, but I'm just saying his level of competence cannot. You now make a professor his palm sec. I can't understand it. Or his director of finance. The man should be implementing it. You get the problem here? I try to put my thoughts together, but it's plenty. That's why I close this book. It's plenty. In my house, I have a compendium of educational issues. So you said 1 to 5 now. Finland has point education. They have, see, you go to school, maths and English. For what? There's no subject. You come to school, you like to throw kites. They will use mathematics to teach you kite throwing. They use mathematics to teach you English. They will use mathematics. I come to Nigeria, they say they are doing Montessori. What? No, Nigeria, Montessori. What you are doing is child care. There's no Montessori in Nigeria. I can beat my chest. Because it is very expensive to do Montessori. Because it's one teacher, one child. That's Montessori for you. I was reading an article 3 days ago. In the UK now, they want to reduce the amount of degrees, the amount of years, from 4 years to 2 years. The challenge with that reduction is this, which is why I always like to be balanced. Nigeria needs to understand our technical, now, there are 3 R's, they say it is for education: reading, writing, and retention. I don't agree with that. And the singular reason I do not agree is because, that's why I say I like the humanities. What the humanities do, the essence of research and development, is that you can determine when a particular behavioral pattern is obsolete. Nigerians are very handy people. What that means is that if our educational system is not finding a midpoint between the head, the heart, and the hands, we are always frustrated. That's why we sit in class and we are understanding this man that has not run a business is teaching me economics. What does he know? That's why we have a problem. That's why Nigerians go abroad, and once they are given an ounce of open door, they excel. You hear Nigerians is the best in this. You know why? Because our head and hand is what we naturally do effortlessly. So I am a proponent of the learning revolution. Technical and vocational education. Technical and vocational education. See, university is not university for this thing. Technical and vocational. And please, let me put a disclaimer. Technical and vocational does not mean plumbing and carpenter. What it means is that what you are speaking to is the heart and the hand of a man. Coding is a technical and vocational course. Social media analytics and big data is a technical and vocational course. The reason why even in America they cannot call it technical is because of America is a highly capitalist economy. So if they destroy education too much, the capitalists will not make money. That's why even they are trying to manage their own. Yeah? How many of you know that Harvard Kennedy School of Government is not Harvard University? Oh, yes. It's not. Because they found out that they cannot disrupt education within the Harvard University system, academia. They created expressions. That is why my church people building more universities. I was coming now. Let me not point. I was coming now. I saw one banner. I'm like, we have not sorted the one we have. You people are opening more. Who are the professors that will teach there? Where are they coming from? The bishops will teach. Exactly. Where are they coming from? Why don't you guys create parallel systems like what LBS does? Can somebody start a master's degree program in public policy and administration? That that will be the only course you are taking. Let another person start a master's degree in entrepreneurship and innovation. That's your course. And pump all your resources to open entrepreneurship labs. That is the way out. This, I must do BSc and undergraduate, is a demon. And it's because of money. When they calculate how many people are leaving secondary school every year, they now tell them, say, we must do our own. I was in the center of setup for Covenant Mark. Excuse me, sir. University is not creche. Sir, you know when I hear people argue this conversation of, it's a church. The school fees must be lower. You are ignorant. Very ignorant. A university professor, the minimum they take, top grade professor, is $1 million per month. Because you need their profile for your school. $1 million. One. That is by the side. You see, the reason you think university is cheap is because the ignorance of Nigerian universities not to propagate research and development is what is making you think it is plenty. Abroad, they endow billions of dollars to research about why your ear is itching you and the other ear is not itching you. It's a research. But because in Nigeria we don't do research, we think, how can you be paying 460,000 for part time, 460 for engineering and ICT? You're a joker. We are not doing the right thing. That's why we think it's expensive. If we are doing the right thing, they will be charging all of us 2 million naira per year. Education is capital intensive. See, the reason why they also think they can cut people's budget is because people have sold them the dodo. That education can be subsidized. Education cannot be subsidized. It is expensive to run. So if you go to Access Bank now or another private sector and tell them you have an educational project that you sponsor, they will ask you how much is the returns. Go now with the bank and Tungolo. No. Before you enter, come out. You have gotten grant. So even we ourselves in this space have to redefine a lot of things. What exactly do we want? Do we want more funding? Do we want more schools? People are busy repainting schools. Do you know that there is a particular course in Harvard School of Education where they tell you how to design learning environments for learning? Yes. That's a course. That the color that you paint the wall affects learning. That's a course. We are see, when they say we live on trees, it's not a lie. I'm not joking. That's why when you engage the white men and you are talking, they're looking at you and saying, seriously, you're on this planet? You guys are still using? Because you can't get it. You go to some schools, they have whiteboard and white marker. They are feeling they've arrived. Oyinbo has left. They left. They now play. In fact, they have left us. Is it making sense to us? So I want us to get the proper perspective. Correctly define what education is. What do we expect from this our fight? Policy. Learning methods and objectives must change. What exactly do we call learning? Well, we can know how to restore our classes to what our learning objectives are or what our education system is. Once we have not answered those questions, we will still keep going round and round in circles. Education is to build knowledge to make you a useful person for society. Any system, I repeat, that helps build a human to be able to be important and influential for society, please can we? Because of recession now, the amount of homeschooling in Lagos has doubled. People don't go to school again. My auntie is homeschooling her child. I have 4 aunties that are now doing homeschooling. Homeschooling is not the in thing. Yes. One pay 1.5 billion for people when you can download the curriculum and teach your child at home. Does it make sense to you? That's to show you that what exactly do we even call this education? What exactly do we want from it? So people are talking about the North. I lived in the North too. Do you know that the Kaduna is talking about? The National Union of Teachers Secretariat in Kaduna. It's on the express to Mando, by Mando there, by bypass, by the right. Yes, that's what it is. On the express there, if you are going to Zaria, before Jaji, by the right. National Union of Teachers, that's where it is. Right in Kaduna there. Yes. Do you know what I'm saying? So if we use Nigeria matter cook soup, soup go sour. So sometimes when I hear people just talk about the problems, I just say, you know what? Let's cook scatter this whole thing. But I also like to create a balance. My friend Fred Swanika, who did African Leadership Academy. So Fred went to South Africa to do African Leadership Academy. So 2 years in African Leadership Academy, you can leave secondary school and go to ALA and spend 2 years for your foundational course. Fred now wanted to do a university. South African government says it's not possible. It's not possible. There's a way you have to build a university. So Fred took it to Mauritius. ALU is now in Mauritius. So me too, I have received wisdom. In case the demons show up for my campuses that I want to build, I will go to Benin. I will go to Seychelles or Benin and Togo and go and build it. So you Nigerians, all of you will be coming there to attend the school. You get what? Because now has moved. Because you people, you see, so when they now say time for election, time for this, you will not sit in your house. You see that the problem of wrong people is, the problem of long leaders is very long. Very long. People should leave governor and councillor and just go to House of Rep and Senate. I beg you in the name of God, if you are thinking to campaign, just go to House of Rep and Senate. One single day can unearth our destiny forever. Thank you very much.
All right. This is so insightful, inspiring. I'm sure the audience really enjoyed this. I enjoyed too, and we are fired up. And next on the line is Elvis Boniface. Is the founder of Edigist. He's been a friend of Quorum from day one. You are welcome. So
Thank you
please,
very
we'd
much.
like you to share light on the subject matter.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Elvis Boniface. Until recently, I used to head research for a company. I think when my friend was screaming, I almost wanted to give up on this discussion because he was screaming as if he wanted people in Abuja to hear. But the consolation I have is, he said, he's in government. As a result of my career so far in Nigeria, I've met 16 commissioners of education. And what we are doing here is a roadmap. When we get to the real issue, my brother, you will shout, you will scream. 3 weeks ago, the director I used to work for came into Nigeria. We went to a state in the Northeast. We had pitched to someone in Qatar, the World Innovation Summit for Education last year, that we had something we want to do in education. And over time, they contacted us. They have money. They have personnel. All they wanted us to do was to renovate library in one state. That was our proposal. And we were very clear that we don't want that thing to happen in either Lagos, Abuja, Rivers State. So we took it there. And then here and there, we sent in proposal. Finally, the Commissioner of Education met us. I was not talking like we want to give you 50%. The money for the project was ready. Hands on, in the bag. We want to start working. We got into the conference room. We started discussion. After our presentation, the commissioner said, this is wonderful. I want to thank you for choosing my state. But from your proposal, what I've seen here, you are saying you want to give us power in 2 of our state library. I don't want you to do that. Give us a library, but no power. Because people who cannot read or write will be coming to the library to come and use the power to charge their phone. That was one. I'm not fabricating. Secondly, looking at our proposal, he said, I am also suggesting that we are going to give them, in fact, Siemens went with us, we're going to give them fiber optics internet, and he said they don't want internet. This is their drawback against that internet. If we give them internet, people will come on board, and then they will use the internet to start abusing. That was the word he used, abusing His Excellency, because our generation does not respect people. And, you know, I was getting lost, but because I was speaking to him, quote, His Honorable, I have to speak to myself. And then I say, excuse me, sir, Your points are well noted, right on point. But don't you think, and before I say don't you think, and he said if I want to debate with him, he's sorry, we have to leave his office. There and then, I said, sir, it's not that way. We might just give internet, we might block Facebook. And the guy walked out of us. We had flew to, Kaduna. We went by road to this same state. And before 20 minutes, while we were trying to go ahead, yes, I didn't mention, but from Kaduna, we connected. While we were trying to, okay, maybe he want to ease himself, his security details came and said we should carry our bag and leave. And we took it to the northeast. So what we are saying is a big issue. In fact, I have the last speaker advantage. Everything I would have said, everybody has spoken about it. He talked about support for education. In the best body of research, all we are saying is that individuals should come into education. As a result of my work, I do media a lot. In 2014, 6th of December, I had approached a telco company in this country when I wanted to do an education event. And I told them all we want to do. The theme of that event was a connected Africa, the need for radical innovation. And I made a second in command for this telco with my proposal and everything. At that time, another person has paid for the venue. And this man called me by the side and said, Elvis, you are a very young man. I know what you are doing. You have so many skills. Why don't you just channel this into entertainment? Why are you doing all you are doing? He was very clear. And the irony, and that was how we had to run around and we organized our event with our own money. But outside, you know what he does? He runs a foundation that supposedly supports education. He owns a church. And I had also been a photographer for his foundation. But the thing is, she has said it, the mindset, we are not true to ourselves. As a result of this gathering, I went to my library to get, this is supposed to be the Education Bible. This is the National Policy on Education. We have the one that President Jonathan brought in 2013, which have not been implemented. So now, if what we have, we can even implement it, maybe it will be better. One of the first things stated is, in pre-primary school, there shall not be more than 20 pupils to a teacher. 20 in my dream. Can we see that school? I mean, we're everywhere. So, because we are doing a roadmap, let's not even go on the problem. Let's even try to look at the solution. The policy. People have come up with a piece of learning, the piece of marketing, the piece of this, the piece of that. Let's even attempt the piece of education. Let's start with policy. Can we come to a table where we can say, we decide who becomes the Minister of Education? Can we begin to say, we decide who becomes the Commissioner of Education? He just mentioned it. When you get to the Ministry of Education, you'll be sad for this country. I've seen very notable people. I saw Mr. Joseph. I saw a lot of people that are doing a lot of things. You don't drop a letter in the Ministry of Education and you are expecting a reply. But this morning, while coming to this event, I was reading something on the American education system. There's something that was not clear. I had to mail John King. That's Obama's Secretary of Education. He replied me before I left the gym back home. He had replied. But here, we have dropped letter at the Ministry of Education. Nobody says. So in the policy, I think we should get to that place where we can say we are protesting against this person. That was the present Secretary of Education in America. When Trump nominated her, there was a lot of tussle. And also she has an immoral stand on charter school and all that. And so everybody was saying we cannot imagine her being the Secretary of Education. And even up to now, she's not finding it easy because she's not getting support from anybody. But for crying out loud, have you gotten into a meeting with Adamu, our Minister of Education? You'll be sad. Let's be real. You have a flash drive into your system, you are making a presentation, everybody is lost. So all what I want to suggest this afternoon is that from the area of policy, our roadmap should be centered on that. Let's begin to know who and who. In the clusters of education, we have the LGEA from the local government. Now, I want to say that some states in Nigeria don't even have a local government administration. So how do we even know who is the supervisor on education? No, that is even at the local government level. That is what this book say. That's what this Bible say. So the whole country, we are sinners because we are not abiding by this. And every serious nation has got to take education serious. So let's even get to that. I've been going through his work. A lot of people come with ICT and all that. But what gets into that platform? The Etisalat click light at a point, I work with them. You want to ask yourself, what goes into all these things? The best schools that sells in Nigeria, what they market to you is American curriculum. Some tell you the British curriculum. And so for the guys that are flexible, all they do is what we call eclectic curriculum. They call part and sync it together. How can a nation be serious? If we don't have X, Y, Z, can we have an educational system? Can we have a curriculum framework? So from that angle, I think this thing, we should begin to drive what goes into the heart of this. Under pedagogy, we can begin to look. She talked about something. We started very right. Every serious nation is taking ECD, early child development, very serious. Because I'm a child psychologist. At 5 years old, 96% of the human brain is developed. So for you and I that are struggling today, some of them school in the state. I school in the state too, Cross River State. It's what happened to us as children. It is what happened to us. A lot of us, sorry, so in that area, like I was saying, I've worked in different platforms. I studied education at the University of Lagos. Recently, I did a job with them. So I was trying to find out something for my client. And so I went into Unilag and I told them I want to volunteer as a student teacher. And then I went to a school in Abuloja here. So someone has mentioned Lagos. Even in Lagos, we are lost. So I was meant to be teaching social studies in JSS3. And I got into the board. I wrote social study. And I started with X. I wrote O. And I asked someone that I presume should be between 14 to stand up and spell. He could not spell social study. JS3. 3 weeks after I left there, I was trying to get something. So I went to the University of Lagos Staff School. I went to teach Basic 1. Everybody in my class in Basic 1 could spell social studies. So you can see the disconnect. So how do we begin to merge this thing? It's something that is fundamental. And so a lot of variables are involved. So if we get policy right and we say this is what we are trying to, and then partnership is another P I want to talk about. How come we are so disconnected? I was speaking with a lecturer friend of mine. He's an associate prof in Unilag this morning in the gym. I've invited him before now for this gathering, and then I just gave her a soft reminder at the gym, and he said, what are you guys doing there? What is happening there? Listen, until we are able to connect to the real world, we are playing, we are joking. I was looking at something last night. Jack Ma was in Kenya, and after meeting the guys that plays in the startup cluster, he was at the University of Kenya. There's something that is lost. I wrote an article in Punch that Unilag invited me. I said, I'm not your student. Why are you inviting me? Mark Zuckerberg came into Nigeria. After 6 years, the next best place you expected him to visit was the University of Lagos. Yes. We have a faculty of engineering. We have a department of computer science. Right. But Unilag is lost in the Yaba bubble. And they are supposed to be the landlord of this place. Their students, my office is here. These guys are here. Other people are here. Everybody is doing one thing or the other that is grand. But these guys have confided themselves in where they are very comfortable. You know, like he said. So you now want to be surprised that the first public university accelerator hub we have is in Nsuka, a village. Unilag is here. So until we are able to connect, something will always be wrong. Last week, Microsoft invited me and they were saying, Elvis, we read about what you do somewhere. We have Microsoft for Education and we want to. Guess what happened? The guys that were trying to troubleshoot that thing, to pilot it, were guys that came all the way from Covenant University into Lagos. And the problem is, the head of Microsoft in Nigeria told me that at a point, they had put on 1 million naira for any teacher that will come and learn. And you know what happens? These guys come and tell you, the bureaucracy is more. So I want us to be peaceful first and foremost. Let's even have a working document. You know, like he said, meeting those demons is energy sapping. Those guys are not there to play with you. They have given up. We have two ways. We have two things we are in Nigeria as far as our education system is. It is either we are here or we move backward. That is what is on their table. And what we are trying to do is to move ourselves forward. And so you have a lot of patience. 16th of last month, I worked with, a global consultant. We did a lot of work. And then we went to one state. I dropped my paper there. I wanted to send it to the director. The state doesn't have a commissioner of education yet. And while I was waiting, this woman she was eating amala and had my paper stained. We have done need assessment for 2 weeks to come up with that paper. Yes. And I almost cried and I was like, Ma, what happened? Why are you doing this? And I wanted to go corporate and private. This is unethical. I was speaking English and then the director came and I said, yes, God, you have done it. Director, this is what this man has done. And she said, why? And he said, why will you bring just one copy? Do you have extra? Yes. Do you have extra copy? Or because you want to give me paper, she should not eat? 2 weeks of work, 22-page document. So what we are starting here is not one of those play. And then finally, the last piece of education I want to talk about, the product. What is the outcome of all we are doing? To every input, we expect a commensurate output. The way we are outlined now is not getting us there. Let's even begin to set milestone. Let's set milestone. Sometimes I go to the faculties of education. Anytime I find myself outside these shores, I pitch to people, this is what you can do for my country, the Ministry of Education and this. And then you get to the Ministry of Education and then the energy is lost. And then you get to any university, the backbenchers is usually the Faculty of Education. Yes, but you speak to 10 teachers and everywhere. So for me, I think we should begin to know that what is this product? It's a cogent question we have to ask ourselves. A lot of people, I used to follow her write-up in premium time before I met her early this year online and now presently. A lot of people are doing that. But where does this whole thing go? Cross River State, for instance, I'd like us to be real. If what we are doing here is not because we want to network, if we want to actually enforce this thing, let's be real. There is something, I have studied the system. There's something that the former governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke, did. Everybody said, let this man become president. I always hold that opinion. Put Donald Duke in the Ministry of Education, for instance. He did something grand. I was a secondary school boy during his tenure. When you pay 1,150 naira, you get 14 textbooks under the Duke administration, standard books. He brought in experts to write that book. And then you must ensure that you read it. He will bring supervisors. And when the guy when he left, that obviously left. Now, but there is something that worries me. Compensation. And this is my last example, and I'll drop the mic. Before I left my last job, because we work for organizations, a state in this country has met my director outside of this country, and that they want us to develop an education blueprint for them. The governor said he has been a speaker for 8 years, and he said all he wants to do for the state is education. And so we charged him 20% of our professional charge because we were thinking that we will do the implementation. And so we went to his state, deployed M&E guys, and we went into thorough need assessment. And we came up with what could work. And we said, Mr. Governor, 27th of May has passed. What is happening? And then all we now saw, it was in premium time I saw it. What Lagos is doing, Code Lagos, was in our plan before Lagos implemented. We saw that the program has been awarded to one of his political boys. We wanted to train teachers. He has given it to one of the militants that used to come to our school to recruit us. So what he did, he got the document and then sift a sub-component and was using it as compensation. Listen, whoever becomes president in this country, after all, they are stealing billions of naira. Please, steal our billions of naira, use it and give one person because you have been my boy in politics, take and go. It makes us more good than using the faculty, the Ministry of Education as compensation for someone for 4 years. That is what we are now. You go to Cross River State, they tell you that, or you go to another state, they tell you that the Commissioner of Education is a cerebral, quintessential. What that means is that he's a repentant militant. That's what that means. And so you see teachers here. So if John King, a teacher, could make it to as a Secretary of Education in America, why can't we have a teacher here in Nigeria to even the ministry? You just spoke about, I deal with the ministry a lot. You know, Adamu does not even want to speak with his junior minister that is a professor. Yes, in a key meeting he tells you, excuse me, can you excuse us? So why are we so intoxicated? If Buhari has compensated you with this thing, and then there's someone that can do the job, after all in organizational management, that's the key thing, do the job anyhow. So here you have someone that can do, and it's not working. So for me, as I conclude, let's galvanize the policy, let's frame it up, let's have a pedagogy, and then let's determine what the product is. Until that, then I think we have a way to begin with.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, incredible. Yes. Thank you very much, everyone. I think we are able to scale through the first. Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say something because everybody has spoken and everybody has spoken really reasonable things. These are people that I've all heard of, everybody sitting here, but I'm just meeting each and every one of you for the first time. And I believe that if we're in a room like this and we have people with this kind of vision and this kind of drive, one other thing from what you said is that I've noticed that in this same educational sector that we're trying to improve, there's a lot of competition. Everybody is competing against the next person. And we're trying to drive a value. Everybody's trying to drive a value. We're trying to look for how can we come together to make sure that there's a value chain that is being driven and is getting to the people that we want to listen to. But at the same time, if we look at schools, every school is trying to outbid the other school by either pricing one thing or the other. Even we now, as educational technocrats, I could say, if we look into it, really, each and every one of us have an idea that can drive education forward. When it comes to e-learning, because I'm an IT person, right? And I went into education based on the fact that I know that education is a key sector that I want to make a change in. But these are all, we are all people here seated together. But the thing is, if we look at everything that we're doing in our own scope of work, one way or the other, we're trying to drive it individually. And that is also a problem in itself. If we come together as individuals, as schools, as companies, as organizations, and we say, come, EduGist, IES, Charisma for You, Yadiversity, and Budget. Let's just even say 5, and every other person that is in this room that has a vision for education, if we can do a regular meeting like this, and we continue to bounce ideas around, rub minds, start our own community, our voice will definitely be heard. Because we are doing these things individually, and that's another limitation to our progress. That's
Just 2 minutes, okay? Two things that he said that really hits me. Number one, you talked about the product. What is the outcome? For me, the outcome for education should be learners who are able to solve problems, our own problems. So I think when you are writing that down, we are discussing that, that should be the end. Learners who are able to solve our own problems. That's what we want. We want children who are solving problems here. Because sometimes they go outside, they go solve problems outside. We want them to solve problems here. So that should be our outcome. And then you're talking about us collaborating together. My dear, that ship is something that needs to come back. Because it's something that has become very anti-us now. And it's kind of sad. And that's why I'm very happy to see my family there. Yay! We all work together. And that is something that is not normal here in Nigeria, unfortunately. But seriously, I think the missing denomination in Nigeria is vision. I just had a flashback and I started thinking about my friends who were Taiwanese and Indian when I was in school. And when they were going to school there in the States, when they go back to their own country, their countries had vision. And that vision was passed to each of them. The vision was, you're going to work together for the collective good. You're going to bring the community up. Particularly Chinese and Koreans, they have mindset. And you see, that's why they've achieved so much. They really have. Those two peoples that I mentioned, the Chinese and Koreans, Indians have it too. So until we have that collective mindset again, because we've lost it, but until we have it again, where we come together as a vision and we try to pull each other up, my dear, that's why I keep coming back to mindset all the time. Until we do, I don't know about you and I, but at least this true, we start working on renewing their own mindsets. And we have serious work. Because we need to start with vision. Everything that you're mentioning here, the more I'm listening to it, the more I realize that if there's a collective vision, things can happen. Do you know why America was able to land a man on the moon? Because they busted their butts to make sure that from the grassroots, everybody was aiming towards that goal, which was they must beat Russia to being on the moon. If you go back and read about the space race, man, you really understand that they did something great in that country. Everybody pulled their weight to do that. That's collective vision. Everybody. That's the same thing that happened in China. He mentioned Singapore. That's the same thing that happened in Singapore. Collective vision. I think until we come back again to a collective vision in Nigeria, I don't know. In fact, as I'm talking about it now, I'm feeling sad.
Don't worry. All right. Yes. All right. Thank you very much, guys. I think, yeah, we are able to scale through the first segment of this event. And then I'm very, very happy. I'm proud of you guys. Everything you guys have said, I well noted and everything. Please, a round of applause for the panelists, please. This is a great event. Like you talked about collaboration, us coming together on a regular. These are one of the things Quorum is built upon. We want to meet with people like you all the time to see how we can create a solution. And that is why we are here. We'll get you guys emails, numbers, and then we invite you to our event. So now I would like to pass the mic to our contributors. We have Akinwale Muse here. He's an advertising expert. He's a co-founder of 1705 Productions, co-founder of filmlocation.com.ng. I know you have something to say, so let's get in the mic. Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys. Your mic is not. It's on. Okay, you mentioned, you talked about teaching in our local language. Now, the issue, I was actually in a forum where somebody raised that, and that has always been an issue. I think lately they're trying to push something like that in the north. But the challenge for me is this. When you talk about, you talk about China. That is a mono-ethnic in the context of language. I know they have Mandarin is what holds them, is what brings them together. Oh, okay. I know Mandarin, and when you go to Russia, they also have their common language. But now, unlike us, where we have the Yorubas, we have a whole lot of tribes. So when you were talking, I was asking myself that, how would this really work out? Can it really work out? Because now, if I'm a Yoruba guy, and you teach me Yoruba, how do I communicate or how do I build on what you have taught me if I happen to move to the northern part of Nigeria? That is one. And talking about education being cheap or expensive, the truth is this. I was talking to, I think I was calling my wife last night, and we were talking about education. I was like, I'm now just like, I have these, like, when you go to the Scandinavians, we know that schools are almost free, even for international students. And this country is a model, especially Finland, when it comes to education. I think the issue is that our government is not just putting in everything. And for what you guys are coming, the startups and all that, you are doing fantastic stuff. I hope that Quorum will be able to put all of this together and let us see how we can move the educational sector forward. But the challenge is still that we need it. It can be free, not even cheap. It can be free and still be quality service. That is just what I want.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now in terms of the issue of language, now when I said that, I was talking about root cause analysis. Like we tackle issues from the root of where we see the problems. Now, it's not, I'm not saying it in the sense that we have to do all languages. Nigeria has tons of languages, but you also still remember that we are divided into three main ethnic groups. We have the Igbo, the Hausa, the Yoruba. That's still where everybody falls under one way or the other. So, in that retrospect, you can also now decide. So, if you are Efik, you are a Bibio, you are Egun, you are Yoruba, you would still fall under one of these categories. So, you have to choose. Do you understand? So, the idea is that which one is closest to your locality. So if we want to do it, that's if we decide that we want to take that in that drive. We want to drive it in that way. My idea would be, let's work it out in such a way that whatever is closest to your locality. Okay. If I was to, drive that initiative, I would say whatever is closest to your locality. If it's Igbo, if you learn in the Igbo language. If it's Yoruba, that's if you are from the southwest, you learn in the Yoruba language. And when I'm saying learn, I don't mean, that's why I talked about two things. I talked about the localization and the globalization. First of all, before you can go global, at least you must have some kind of local value. So if you have local value in your local language, it might be in your local language, your local area. Then from there, at least you've gotten some value, you have some followership. The next level will be now learn English. Because English yes, we speak English, is the general language and all that. But if we're trying to go on that local level, go to those rural areas, if you do this language thing, and then once you have that local championship, as I say in quotes, you can now take the English step, which will now be to globalize. Because look, he was talking about the founder of Alibaba, Jack Ma. He didn't know English, right? If you look at his story, he learned English. He had established himself to a certain level in his locality before he learned English. English was just something he learned to propagate his ideas globally. So that's the idea that I'm trying to drive. That we have to go take it in steps. So you learn to this extent, and in your process of learning in Yoruba language to get to that level where you are, you already know some kind of values, and you know it within your locality, so you can express yourself to your people and even get a translator. Putin is one of the most powerful men in the world, and he never speaks English. Do you understand? When I came into this country, like I said earlier, I speak Russian language. I was interpreting for the Ukrainian embassy at the time. And there were many times that people would come into Nigeria, high men of value and honor, and Nigerians would be following after this guy, and they do not understand a word that these people are saying. I have to be the one to interpret. So I had that advantage in the middle there. And that is also an opportunity for so many other people. So these are just the kind of ways that, I'm just looking at how we can tackle the problems from the root cause. That's simply my take.
All right, thank you.
So, to further verify, English is not just a learning language, it's just a tool for communication. Yeah? If you eliminate communication, is learning taking place. If you go to the north, there are Hausa boys that are constructing things with their hands. They can't speak a word of English. They are making inventions with their hands already. They can't speak English. Yeah? When we write codes, are all the codes in English? When you look at machine language, it doesn't agree with the English grammar if, when, then. Then, when, what the hell is that? The machine understands and receives the information and sends you back a report. You understand what I'm saying? So, I think it's just one level of, I think what he means by that is that let's be able to teach. Then when we can teach, we will now talk of communication. Once teaching and learning is taking place, the next level of problem we now want to solve is when we now want to make them communicate. But at that level, when learning has taken place, they will now want to learn English so they can communicate. Yeah? That's one. Two, people tell me that learning is cheap, and they use Scandinavian countries as an example. It is a very bad comparison. Very bad comparison. Finland is just 1.5 million people. That's Ekpe local government. Ekpe local government. And it has increased to 7 million, have you? Okay, let's say 5 or 7 million. That's not even look at so we are talking about an analysis from Djibouti. So a friend of mine says the amount of children cerebral palsy are just above 700,000. She shouted from the back, "What?" We said yes, 700,000. She said that is not up to, that is more than the amount of people in the whole of my country. I had a friend of mine went to Gambia. We got 100 acres the day we went. We made the Minister of Education same day. Their president goes to supermarket to buy toiletries. So number is key. One of the reasons with social activists and passionate social people is that we forget that there are many variables to this thing. There is a political economy at play. There is a capitalist economy at play. There is a cultural issue at play. For instance, in the north, the women cover their hair. It's a cultural thing. I don't know if you know something. The boys are not permitted. They prefer to sit down on the ground. So within the context of that culture, how can we innovate? We do rugs for them and stand on the floor. And, so there's a lot of issues in all of this. To verify your cost point, if there is nowhere where the capitalist will allow socialists to survive. Let me explain. In France, it is an NGO that run a business. Because once you are a business, you are paying. All that you are seeing is not free. Somebody is paying. And most of the time, it's not government. Somebody is paying heavily for it. You get, so when we want to copy models, I'm always very careful of where I'm copying it from. Excuse me, sir. Free education can never work in Nigeria anymore. Awolowo is dead and gone. Let us settle it today now. It can work. I'll tell you why it cannot work. First of all, okay, so the Finland you are using as an example. Do you know how much the teachers earn? Teachers are big boys in Finland. Teachers bullshit all workers. All what? We run the economy. But a company is paying for it. It's in France. I see Norway or somewhere. No. Finland, I mean? Finland. Yeah. They are the one paying. So when you see all those factories in Scandinavian countries, when they tell you Gazprom, the pipeline is moving. As the pipeline is moving from country to country, they are collecting it. And because they don't have Yoruba, Igbo, Ibibio to debate how the money will be spent, everybody agrees how the money will be spent. So there's a political economy to consider. It's just a lot of variables. Ethnicity. So people are asking me why I'm involved in politics. I am involved because Nigeria, you see, the reason why all of us must be involved is that Africa is a highly political environment. And until we are involved in the politicking, we are not ready. We are not ready. We will just be talking from the bottom here. What frustrated Donald Duke in Cross River? Donald Duke had built Tinapa. Tinapa was ready to take over the world. He took one demonic government policy. One. Go to Tinapa now. Weeds are growing. Yes. You see, so people are now also abusing governors. I told people governors will never do anything in Nigeria until we restructure. And I will tell you why. Why will I mine bitumen in Ondo State and give 85% to federal government? For what? In countries where they have sense in the center, not at the bomb bomb, you pay tax to federal. The state keeps the chunk. So you see why our problem is first political. The political reason is more than even the grammar we're speaking here. Sir, if they restructure, I'm not validated for restructuring. Let me verify it here. If we restructure Nigeria, there are states in the southeast that will have left Nigeria since. I worked for federal government schools on a project with Microsoft. So I went to all. That's why I knew road trip in Nigeria is beautiful. It's only that we have bad roads. Nigeria is too. Where are we dividing to? There's a local government in Beru that speaks Igbo. Where are we going to? They share boundary with Nightmare, Enugu. Where are we going to? You say divide Biafra. Biafra to where? So you take Beru too? We are two together. The largest girls only schools are in the east. I never knew. Enugu has like 3,000 students in the federal government college. Imo has 2,005. Onitsha, ridiculous. Those ones go to school per second billing. So we are too homogeneous. There's a lot of political landscape with it. You get what I'm saying? So that's why all of us must be involved in governance and how policies are structured. Unless we will frustrate ourselves. For you to get this free education, we can start somewhere, for instance. Maybe at the rural communities. But for rural communities to get free education, there must be local government autonomy. Political decision. Is it making sense to you, sir? The reason why there are plenty schools in Lagos, Ale Mosho has over 2,000 schools. Ale Mosho local government has over 2,000 schools. I was wondering, I was asking why. I heard that schools don't pay tax. Now, the government found a way to collect their tax from them. But before, schools need to pay tax. So you know what that means? That means when my grandmother wants to retire, the first thing she's thinking about, school. My father is retiring from public service. The first thing he's thinking about to pay with his gratuity is school. Because school is the thing you can invest in and not be sure of a collapse. Church is another one. Let's leave that one. But you get what I'm saying? Once you do, you are doing school. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's going to be from bottom up. If we really want free education, we must allow the political system evolve for free education to be able to play. Yeah? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Guys, because of our time, okay, you can go back to your seat. I will call on sit down, Mr. Joseph Asida. And then also we have our friend Yomi Okunwale. Yeah, okay. Please, Mr. Joseph, let's have Yomi Okunwale. Bola. Yeah. All right, is the speaker on? So we have our friend now from Houston, Texas, Bola Lawa. My good friend is a CEO, founder, and co-founder of Scholar X. So, can you hear me? Hello? You can't hear me yet. Hello, Bola. Okay, we need to connect this to the speaker. Hold on, we are working on the sound. Hold on, please. Just hold on. We are. If they increase the volume, okay, from the system. Okay, increase the volume from the system. No, but that's not the highest. Okay. Okay, while we are doing that, I will pass the mic to. Yeah. So I'm going to pass the mic to Mr. Joseph Ashid, and then we'll come to our good friend here. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I was really hoping I could just sit down and soak in and absorb all the rich knowledge and discussion that's going on here, because situations and meetings like this are so important for us in education today, and more vitally now. Moment better than ever, by a transformation has to happen within our country, and the seed of that transformation has to begin right from education. And sometimes when we're looking at changing policy and driving it, it's about time the ears of those that matter are gradually turning towards those of us that are collaborating at this level. It may seem as if in the past, years ago, that we may have been talking and we were being ignored. We were just a voice in the wilderness, okay? But all of that has changed. It has drastically changed now, and that's why I'm so impressed with the aspect of collaboration that is necessary and needed for us to drive that transformation right now. And when we're looking at collaboration and we're looking at changing or moving policy, one of the vital, or if not most important stakeholders that have to be involved in that discussion are the teachers. Because the teachers, right from that level, know the nitty-gritty of teaching and learning, know what works, how it works, with what context will it work in, what content of the material that is being given out will even work. So if policy is supposed to transform a change at that level, there can't be any discussion without the teachers. It's just not possible. And even though our country, we're at the moment where teachers have been ignored for a long time, and that's reflected in the salary that a lot of teachers receive. Okay? And some people actually say we're common teachers. But I'm not a common teacher because no teacher can be common. It's not possible. We are the ones that form the future, or rather the present future of our country. We have discussions going all around, like what's happening here. I and my team, you heard Tola talk about our team. There's a program we're doing on the 12th of this month to the assembly, and it's just teachers charting the course for teachers. Because we have a rich discussion that we have to bring into play. Now, the way and manner whereby it's going to be noticed is when we bring out our information strong and with the strength of it out into the public domain. Because no more, and yes, to some extent, newspapers and things that go on TV have a huge part to play. But to a large extent now, the voice that is going on in social media is transforming the country. It may seem as if people are not listening, but there are areas that are listening. So when we have this kind of collaboration, and we have content and we have material that brings about a policy document, and a document that is tried and tested, because it's not just someone sitting down in one office somewhere, drinking some tea or coffee and deciding what should I put here or there, and how will it favor me. But it's individuals like you and I, that know where it pinches us. Because we have children. At least I have children. I don't have all my children to be later on. Okay? And we don't have any other country where we're going to be running to. It's this country. So we know what we want to change, and we know how we want it to change. And we develop that with the people that are necessary, and then we bring about those sound discussion, sound policy points that is workable, and it's not just a postulation. It's more or less a practice that has been going on for years in the classrooms all around, that makes us to realize that these children that we are working with have the ability to take over, change, transform the country in the next 5, 10, 15 years. So this kind of discussions, it's so important. And then when we have them, and we push those amongst us into such political positions, into such areas that can make a change, then it's just a matter of time. And I can see it's actually happening. It's actually happening now. So no longer when people say, well, when will it happen? Is it a long time? It's no more a long time. This is the right time now. And that's why we have to do all what we're doing and keep at it and keep at it and keep at it, because the heirs have turned towards us now. And we have to make that difference.
Thank you. Awesome. All right, that's fine. So next on the mic is Yomi Ogunwale. He's a co-founder of EduPlanner. He has something to talk to us about.
Okay, I'll actually sit there and I'll hear him discuss.
I'm running a test, please. A minute. Sorry, I forgot.
Okay. So,
hello everybody.
okay, my name is Yomi Ogunwale. I'm working on EduPlanner, Nigeria. We are trying to, it's a civic organization using data and tech to advocate for education reform in Nigeria. And I got fascinated with his own discussion when we were talking about politics and education, because the politics is where the power is being controlled. But education is also the cornerstone of national development. And on this side, we are citizens. That's one of those things we need to understand. And on that side, they are the politicians. So it's a thing of we against them. I need everybody in this room to have that consciousness. And that's one of the biggest challenge in the education sector, whereby we think we don't have a voice. And just like he was saying now, about crafting a voice together and submitting over to them. Now, when we look at the education sector, you talk about the political, the economic, the social, then the technology. That's the PEST model. Now, we can't take from the technological angle and say we want to affect the political angle. We need to take it one step at a time. And we are like the think tanks in Nigeria. Do you understand now? And we need to be smarter than them. If not, just like his experience with in Kaduna, for example. Okay, he drove through Kaduna. Now, okay. Okay. And they are smarter. They understand what they are fighting for. So we also should understand what we are fighting for. Nigeria is a mono economy. We rely on oil alone. And we have the lazy rich who will never allow power to go away from them. And they understand that the best way to do that is through education. Education in 1980 got allocation of 15%, 18%. But today, we are struggling to get just 6%. In the proposed 2017 proposed, for example, it was increased a little bit by 48 billion naira. By the time they were approving it finally, they reduced it gradually. Now, that's a thing that we are not spotlighting on. And like he was talking about NERDC. NERDC is like, how do you put it now, like the CIA. They understand how these things work. And for them to be able to implement anything, they can go through NERDC. But this is what we can do to raise our voices together at the, because we have no other place we can go to. We need to raise our voice and try to see how we can spotlight them out. Maybe if the education sector has been very, very active, we might not have Adamu, for example, as the Minister of Education. We might not have Adamu as our minister because we could have galvanized our voice together and say no. Just like we have with Davos in the US, for example. When Trump was going to introduce the education plan for the US, the new one he was going to introduce, there was a 40 billion cut this year, for example. And there was so much advocacy around that. The truth is, politicians need to look good in front of us. So if we can spotlight to citizens that these guys are not actually your friend, then we begin to make those changes on a gradual basis. So what we need, governance, politics, and education, they go hand in hand. We cannot neglect it before we talk about teachers, before we talk about student outcomes, before we talk about funding. Politics needs to come in, which also brings me back into the system itself. What's the return on investment if you are going to invest in the education sector, which is coming back to outcomes? We need to have, just like he was saying about localized learning, localized results. We need to learn what will create a change in our society. We don't need to go and bring something from up there just because it is working. The fee system cannot work in Nigeria. I beg to say that again. It cannot work at all because it's very, very expensive. So we need to actually find solutions that will work in Nigeria. And when we can find those solutions by bringing our heads together, no matter how small it is. But it is we that we are in this room that can do it. If we ever wait for the Federal Ministry of Education, we are jokers. I was in Abuja last month, and we had a representative of the Ministry of Education. The only thing we came together at that summit was provide the data. And you could see for our body language that it seems you guys are ready for another long walk. Do you understand? So we need Let us come together as advocates and draft a document. This is what we want in the education sector. Can the government provide a better one? If not, please adopt this. Because unless we save ourselves, they are not ready to save us. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Quick.
All right.
Quickly, please. Just quick one. I want to highlight points. I keep saying I'm a politician because I know the way they think. So when you said Kaduna, I said no, we drove through. Very clear. They are recording it before they go and meet this man now.
I don't worry, you are clear.
Sorry. No, I'm coming. So what it means is this. Please let us not see ourselves as us versus them. Please. You see, it's a very sensitive thing. If your uncle wants to become senator, will you see him as us and them? It's our Tiwa, family member. Why not Debe? Yeah? My father was a very influential person in Nigeria at some level. The first day my father told me, get me my Zenith Bank checkbook. Daddy, you want to know? Why? Because as a public servant, there are things you don't dodge in. And since he was a public servant, I accosted him as my father. So let's not see that us versus them. They came from within us. I think what you're trying to say is we must see it as there's a politicking going on that's going to affect us. Let us contend against it. Yeah? That's one. Two, university is not just a school. University is actually a think tank. In worlds where their brain is on their head, I keep saying this thing. Universities are where policies are formulated for society. So you have things like Aspen Institute, things like Brook Institute, things like Center for Big Universities. Because the universities are the ones that are creating policies for society. You get what I'm saying? So I'm using to advertise university, by the way. What I'm saying is we need to be very strategic. Three, finally, we are so passionate that we don't understand how to walk through the gate. Now, the gate is the access point. A lot of us are so passionate that we are shouting outside. But decisions are being made beyond the gates. The question is, how do we enter? We're already entering. Like that is very profound, we're entering. But you see, we need to be strategic. As gentle as a dove, but as wise as a serpent. See, we are too passionate a generation and we always shoot ourselves in the foot. So someone goes from outside. I will not agree. They will keep you outside. We won't agree. We must take our vote. They will keep you outside. But if you go and say, Your Excellency, how are you, sir? I saw what you did in Abuja. It was beautiful. Access. Because the greatest devil are those of your household. So let them make us their own household. Let's enter. When we enter, we choke them in the bomb box. That's the way out. Because if you're outside, you will never get in. And because they understand that principle, they will never allow you present. Have you noticed when you go to Abuja, they don't allow some people to talk? In 2011, we were in Abuja, was it 2012, 13, when they did that economic policy. They did it so much that they didn't want Coach Charles to talk. They played the politics so much. It took the Jonathan to bring Cosmos Maduka to the meeting. As he took the microphone, he said, Mr. President, I only have 4 lines to say. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. And the earth was without form and void. And God said, let there be. Mr. President, you want Nigeria to advance? Give us light. Give us light. Give us. Does it make sense to you? So we need to be very strategic. Passion is good, but strategy is important. Very key.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, right about now, I would like everyone to go back to their seats now. So let's start again from another level. So the panelists, we need you guys to come back. So quickly before we go to Bola, I would like to introduce one of our guests. The reason why I'm introducing this guy is he came from Yobe State to join us today. His name is Paul Ito from Yobe State. Please a round of applause for him. Please. You can sit down, please. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. My name is Bola Nawal. I'm the co-founder and CEO of ScholarX. I also run Africa Tech here in Houston, and I also have some other initiatives I'm working on. I'm always available if anyone wants to contact me to talk further, but this is what I think some of our policies should be geared towards, and I thank everyone for having me. This has been a great event. Thank you.
very much. Thank you very much. Guys, I can see that while we are talking, lunch is going on. It's okay. It's okay. So please, I would like the panelists to come back on their seat, please, so that we can take the contribution from our friend Paul Luther from Yobe State. Wait, the other mic. The other mic, please. With a round of applause. Paul Luther.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm excited to be here. And I'm also angry because listening to all of us speak, actually the problem is so enormous that if we want to create solutions, I'm sure there will be a lot of solutions to actually, yes. And I'm not going to take our time. Actually, I'm a mechanical engineer. Actually, I graduated from school and I got to be bachelor's in engineering. So let me put it that way first. Because when I was in 300 level, I lost interest in education. As in, I lost interest in engineering because I cannot imagine that even while I was in 300 level, there were some things that I could not still do. And I was calling myself a potential engineer. And in 500 level, I could imagine, actually I went to the Federal University of Technology, Mina. I graduated from the same school with Mr. Jones here. Imagine in 500 level, we're still doing some kind of experiments that we should be doing in secondary school. See, this problem is so big, so I'm not going to take our time because we've spoken and we've touched as in some of the key aspects that actually affects the educational system in Nigeria. You know, but I would like to, because I highlighted some things here that I would like to talk about because I'm actually from Delta State, but I found myself in Yobe State after my youth service. And one of the things that took me there was, apart from, yeah, God took me there and all that, was the fact that I was concerned about the educational system too, there. And I've been doing my research. I've been doing my research and like, well, you know, when, sir, you were talking about, probably making courses or subjects.
Yeah, localizing.
Yes, yeah. I was actually thinking about that before I even traveled down. Because I discovered that there, they don't want to actually learn English. They don't want to learn. You know, but I'm like, we have to see this from different perspectives. Because one thing I told them there, because I was speaking to some of the teachers, I like, first of all, your kids already know how to speak Hausa. Nobody can take that from them. But if everybody learns in Hausa and they refuse to probably embrace English language as a form of learning, at a point, we will have a lot of professionals who are actually good at what they do and they understand only Hausa. At the end of the day, they can't go out. Because the opportunities, you can imagine, probably we have a lot of doctors there and they understand only Hausa. Where are they going to go to? Because, I mean, I'm just giving them. So, from that, I'm thinking, because one thing I'm looking at is, I'm not sure this is going to be the end of this conversation. Because the truth is, there is a lot to be done. A lot to be done. Apart from policies, we have to talk about implementation. And even in the policy, we have to be strategic also. You know, because if you look at it, at the end of the day, we are having a lot of people. We're having a lot of people right now who, I'm talking about the teachers right now, especially in Yobe State, because I'm trying to, I'm coming from there, and I've done some research, and I know some things that are happening there. I'm still doing my research actually, but you look at it, they just want to go for the money. It's just about the money. They are not even concerned about the impact they are going to make, or that they are supposed to make in the lives of these people, as in kids and words that are going to school and all that. One of the things I think I'm looking at is we should try to be strategic in setting out these policies, and if it's going to be an action plan, it has to start from the top down or from the bottom up. It depends on how we want to go about it. And I'm looking at it from one perspective. This is just one perspective. Can we have, what's it called? Maybe we look into the levels of education. What do we want at this level? For example, if we are looking at the pre-primary educational system, what do we want at that level? What kind of, what's it called now? What kind of games, for example? What kind of learning materials? What style of learning should we actually implement at this level? Then after the pre-primary, we go to the primary. Because I want to see our generation not just being learned that they could speak English and all that or whatever it is, but being creative. I love thinking a lot, and most times when I think, I like thinking from different perspectives. I like seeing it from every side. I want our kids to come up, because I'm going to be a father tomorrow. I'm going to have kids. And one of the things I want to see my kids doing is that they are doing better than me at the level that they are. If they are in primary school, I want to imagine, when I was in primary school, I couldn't do this. If they are in secondary school, I want to look at them and smile that, yes, at this level, I couldn't do this. I mean, what is wrong with my kid being in JS3 and is already a bad, I don't know how to call it, bad-ass programmer? I mean, what is bad about that? I went to the university, and at the end of the day, thank God that the internet was there. And I decided I was going to go into industrial and product design. So that's the aspect I want to go under mechanical engineering. And somehow I think we should have different kind of schools. For me, I'm thinking that for me, it's been there for like some years now. Funding is a problem, but I'm thinking we should have a school as in for tech. For example, let me give an example. I discovered laser technology about 2 years ago, where there's nothing you cannot produce with laser. Now, before you get to production, you need to come from the aspect of design. Why can't we have a school? Even if it's going to be 1 year, we learn about design, and we are good at design. Then we learn how to use laser technology and start producing stuffs. Yeah, that's the problem. I think that's where we need to, because one of the things I have here, apart from being strategic in the policies we're going to be setting up at every level, then we start looking into the problems with the implementation. The problems. I mean, I was thinking some minutes ago, I'm like, why can't we, if we're having a public-private partnership on education, why can't we have why can't our schools have a form of housing schemes for our teachers? Because if you look at it, the problem some of these teachers, my mom is a teacher, she's a math teacher. I remember when growing up, she used to drill us a lot. Why can't we have, because we are spending so much money in doing some things that are actually not relevant. We should have, for example, like teachers could have maybe an estate where they could, so that we know that when it comes to accommodation, it's not a problem. Then we can have a form of, let us look at the funds we spend on teachers, as in what's it called, and then pull some very important, because if, for example, I'm a teacher, and housing is not a problem, and feeding is not my problem, because everything is just there. I should be able to think in my house and be more productive. So I don't know, this whole thing is just raw in my head, and that's how I'm bringing it out. But the truth is, we need to look into the problems with implementation, because it's not enough to set up policies. Yeah, we're talking about government, and some other problems we have. We should be able to look into all these problems and come up with solutions on how we can actually, creative solutions. We shouldn't even just look, honestly, when I was growing up, I looked at it that if I have my way, I wouldn't want to look at the government when I want to do anything. I just do what I want to do, set up what I want to set up, and then impact lives. Because I've never really loved politics. In short, I never liked politics. I was telling somebody, if someone is going to appoint me as the president, not local government chairman, no, because I know I can't do anything there. If you're going to appoint me as a president, if it's possible, then I'll come in and do what I want to do. But the truth is, I never liked politics. So we shouldn't look at the government in whatever we're doing. Yeah, we know we're going to bring them in at one point, to support and then implement these policies and all that. Then one other thing I think is key too is assessment, because the truth is we have a lot of people that are teachers, but do they really teach? It's one thing to say, yeah, we have this person as a math teacher, but is he really teaching? Yeah, we should have a form of assessment. You know, that's why actually the public partners, public-private partnership, I even think, apart from just educational, what is it called now, sectors, I think even companies should come in to collaborate also. Because I want to imagine a company like Nokia, for example, if it were in Nigeria, and then they are offering some form of training in some form of technology for, to maybe teachers or lecturers and all that. So I think that's just all I would like to talk about.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we're going to round up in a meeting, but I would like us to take contribution from our audience, please. You heard it.
Very happy to be here today. Although I'm not into tech or education, I'm more into music, but I just want to say these people, I also went to public school, and I got to a stage whereby I also started invigilating some of those teachers, and I got to realize that some of the teachers that taught me in primary school, I invigilated them when they were doing exams for promotion into different levels. And one of the things I realized was that they too, they were even doing examination malpractice. And I was like, how will you stop people from, when you are doing it yourself? But one thing I just want to say is that these people have been in the system for years, you know, and even if they are not been there for years, we met them there. Do you understand? We can't just come to them and say, you know, we have the best education policy now, and they'll not say, okay, you know what, wonderful, we'll leave it for you. No. I believe they see us as bringing gunpowders to them instead of an olive branch. You know, so like someone said here, let's just be subtle with them, move closer, you know, and just get them to parley with us, and after them we can kick them out of it. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's great.
Mine, and we've had sessions on Quorum. There's one important thing, which is mindset. You mentioned it, and that's what is bothering me right now. Everybody literally knows us young Nigerians as sound bites, which is what I don't want us to do today. So that more was said than done. That's us. So it will be very key that I've heard people gently, can we have action points moving us from today to the very next time that this same kind of session, because we can go on and on about, I don't even want to say all the problems that exist, and Nigerians, we know how to analyze. Even soccer, do like that now, you go score goal. Do like, we know it all. What are we going to do? Come together and move forward. Please, can we, even if it's 5 minutes, put down action points. What's the next step from here now? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Major. Let me just to your heart. I reached out to Dari. We met somewhere at Sweet Sensation and we were talking. And one of the things that we're talking about is how are we going to do this thing? How are we going to be able to get everybody together? Because everybody seemed to be very busy. We started with a WhatsApp group. What happened? He died. Nobody could do anything because everybody's tired. I have tens of groups on my WhatsApp. Who wants to respond? So that's why we now said, okay, let's pick a day. Let's converge like this. And let's have this discussion. From this discussion here right now, number one, is being recorded. Number two, for every of all these participating partners here, we've already told them immediately after this, they should send us a document of what they've spoken about. So we do the collation at the back end, then send it out to every one of them again to reread, to re-edit. And now the aim of this thing eventually is, by the time we're able to do this and come out with a document, we want to have a presentation with some of these, our leaders in the education sector. So we drag all of them anywhere and make a presentation to them. And then afterwards, hand over this document to another body that will do advocacy on what we have converged on. So that's the idea. And I was going to close on that, trying to implore them again that I'm still going to be reaching out to you. I was talking to Elvis. Myself and Elvis, we've said, okay, don't worry. We'll collate all these things. And we'll be reaching out to them at every point in time. If we need more, if we need less, we'll send it out until we are able to do this. If you go to my Instagram page, I said something. I said I'm into entrepreneurship and business for bread and passion. I'm into politics and governance by right and obligation. For all of us here, no matter how you look at it, even if you sit down at home, watch your TV, relax, everything is okay for you. You said it, one policy can get everything all crumbling down. So if you don't partake in it, at the end of the day, it's at your own expense. So that is why gatherings like this now is on education. Once we do this on education, we'll move to another sector, move to another agency. Someday, somehow, somebody here is going to be a minister, going to be the president. We want them to revert to this meeting and say, oh, we're even able to do this. With this document, we want to be able to call all these leaders to action by 2019. Oh, we sat on this, we came up with this. Are you going to adopt this when you get into power? We can hold them accountable with this. So those are some of the things that we are looking at. And I want to say thank you for bringing that up.
One demon now has died yesterday in Ogun State. He has opened the way for us. So we die like that. But what I'm saying is this. We need to create a community around ourselves. Now, the politicians understand this principle. In your mind, Tinubu is fighting Saraki. You are stupid. They don't fight themselves. They just relocate for one another. I'm in charge today, you go there. When I'm gone, you can come. That's what's happening here. Create a community. I don't know whether we're going to name it Quorum, something. That is why the Westerners understand. United Nations General Assembly. United Nations Youth Assembly on education. United Nations Community on. They understand those things. So the best way to do it first, whatever you want to call it.com. Log in and connect. Everybody will be on that network. First. Once Madam is doing something, we are there. Once Elvis is doing something, we are there. If IK comes out where he wants to be president, you want to be president, let's do this thing together. Their father. You know? Or else, the problem with documents, sir, is that documents are not implemented because there is no community to drive it. Let me give you an example. In Britain, once the unions do not support you, you can never be prime minister. You become a prime minister by the power of the union. So we need to form, I don't know what name you are going to call it. You are going to be the first person to do it. It has not been done before. There is no advocacy network in Nigeria on education. Don't forget those teachers network they do. They don't do anything. They'll tell you, come and collect license to be a teacher. I don't know where they give it. TRCN. That's what they do. There's no association and network that brings intellectuals like this together from the edutech. Okay. I know the price in dollars. Different people. You know what I'm saying? Create a committee and a network. We start by videos, trendy matters. So even if you can't gather us like this, every PM, every Thursday, IK will say something that will trend. You will say something that will trend. Someone will shoot someone that will trend. Before you know it, they will mention you. At the CC Hub, listen, a politician told me something and I never forgot. He said, Dari, every sector the government ignores, that's the sector for breakthrough. Take it from me today. Every sector government neglects, that is where your anointing is. You get what I'm saying, sir? Let's create a community. That's the best way to start listening now. www.Quorum Education Network something. Now, all of us will join. By the time we join, we'll begin to flood you with our insert. Okay, we'll just sit in front of his camera, do a 2-minute video that will trend. Begin to hashtag them. You see, when they begin to see traction, they begin to shake. Saraki passed 33 bills in one day. Now play. You know what? Not too young to run. I'm in the set house for the conversations. They were going to sit in front of National Assembly for the next 14 days. They got the message, they passed the bill. You see, yeah, it makes sense. So let's create that community. Social media is our greatest tool in this generation. Online community, that's the best way, sir. What I'm just saying to validate your point. Online community with different thoughts, videos, podcasts, conversations. Your event on the 12th, we are bombarded with pictures. See, Oga, teachers are gathering now. There's problem. Oh, they will answer you. You get what I'm saying? So you be the. You get. So you be the. You already have 10,000 people. Oga, you get what I'm saying? So, but they can't join because they can't all be here. Put it online and tell them that you are the curator of this platform. As I'm talking to you, there's a project coming up. It's called the Design Project. People are not smiling. Oh, listen. Some people are relocating. Some people are hungry. They are angry. As you see me like this, I'm not well again. See, I'm not well, and you know. See, if my father is the one that is in the problem, I will move him away from there. That's the mistake I got into now. Because they didn't meet Nigeria like this. My platform, it will be like Facebook for education. A social community. Facebook, as of today, is 2.5 billion people. That's a continent. Take note, China has not joined Facebook. They already 2.5 billion. The day China joins, that's half of the world. Online platform, online community. You can drive it. I promise you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone.
You are missing out something. You are missing out something. I'm so sorry, please. He said, I can send you a Facebook, please. I'm a student. I came all the way from Oyo State.
Thank you. Thank you.
LAUTECH has been on strike for 18 months now. I'll count because we were in Abuja. We were in Abuja 2 weeks back to meet Saraki. And then we were there. Before now, I don't used to work with the union like SUG guys. But at the point I felt just what you said. If I sit back and allow them move, they will ruin my department. Yes, because I suffered for it, yes. I had to retake a course by lecturers, whatever, maneuver, this guy will punish him. But because I had some influence too, like you said, people knew me to take tutorials in school for free. They said, no, Ismail will never score a D in that course. Take it to the dean. The dean said, bring this course. I got a 70A in that course, A. And because I was already in first class, the HOD could not do anything. The HOD could not do anything. Do you understand what I'm saying? So please, take students along. I don't know that here. I'm only seeing us as fathers, uncles, aunties, please take students along. Come to those universities. Come and meet us. You have to change our mindset. If you have to say these things to people in school, they'll say, my phone now. Come to the school. Come and meet us. Let us push this thing for you. We barricaded the VC. We said, sir, you're not entering this stuff. You're not working for us. Yes, we told the VC that. We are ready to suffer for it. What the heck? Before now, I used to think, if you don't go to school, yes. But at the point, 18 months on strike, I said, to help with that school. I volunteer. She volunteer. That's what they call me in my school. Codes Park, they teach kids how to code. I studied computer engineering. I'm studying computer engineering. Yeah, final year. Codes Park, teach kids how to code. I'm there. One thing for whatever volunteer, I am there because I know I'll keep meeting people like this. And one day, by the time I stand on the pulpit to speak to my students, they will know something. Please come to those schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I always come back to our children. I want a situation where 5-10 years from now, am I even going too far? Okay, 5-10 is not bad. Where I can say our children are all not going on mass exodus to Canada, to England, no, to the US, and they are solving problems over there, and then there's nobody here really doing it. And then you know what's happening? They are now doing reverse migration. They are coming here to maximize our own resources here. And that really bothers me. I don't know why you were asking me whether I've ever done anything with the Ministry of Education. I think you asked me that. Unfortunately, well, let me say fortunately, because it's not completely their fault. Fortunately, I have. And when I was dealing with them, some of them are just as helpless about this like we are.
That's it.
Yes, they are helpless. And when I listen to them and I'm talking to them, I'm explaining to them that, look, the reason why I'm so disturbed, it comes back to our children. So when you say we should come to these schools, I agree. We need to come and connect with our children there. But like I was saying, I still come back to mindset. I want us to really build up our children from the bottom, bring them back up. Because the way I'm looking at things right now, I know, yes, it's easier when you start working with them at that age. I'm very disturbed. I don't know if you guys are disturbed like I am. Every time I go online and I also talk to my son about, in fact, my son is the one who keeps me abreast of scientific developments around the world. And when this child is talking to me, do you know why I'm very sad? I'm sad because the reason why this child is very passionate and follows this is because of the kind of background he has. because of the kind of parent that I am, then my mom is a scientist. So my mom, I need the kind of discussions my son has. Sweetheart, 20-year-olds cannot have. I'm not saying because he's my child. I know the way he and my mom talk. So it saddens me that, wow, this child can talk and engage with that. What about all these other children? And then look at what's going on out there in the world. I used to teach these children when I'm in the States. Like he correctly said, it's not that it's perfect there, but still, they are still making a lot of strides. So I now ask myself, do our children have a level playing field? It makes me scared. And then they are now coming here. And I was telling them when I was addressing them at the Ministry of Education, I said, look, people don't understand. Let me tell you the impact of what's going on. You people are sending your children to America or England, and they're not coming back. But guess what? When I was sitting there at the airport at Murtala Mohammed last year, when I went to go and pick up my mom coming back from Houston, guess who I saw coming down from the planes? It's their children. Before it used to be these older expatriates. It's no more. The young ones are coming here now. Because they've told them, there's so much money in Africa. Mark my words, it's not just Nigeria. Everywhere in Africa. There's so much money in Africa. So they are coming here. So I said, guess what? Your children are going there and our children are now coming back. But their children, I told them that. How do you know? And then, but their children are coming here. And guess what's going to happen? When your children now say they want to come back, to come take over, there's nothing for them to take over. Because they're taking everything from them. So they will end up, I shouldn't say this, but let me still say it anyway. We'll end up with South African model. What happened in South Africa? Yes, it's going to happen to the rest of us. It's going to end up happening. And I said it to them, and they were all looking at me. In fact, seriously, the whole place was dead silent. In fact, I told them, stop recording. The whole place was dead silent, and they were just looking. Because I said, look, guys, I know what I saw. I sat down there waiting for my mom, and I pinched one guy who came back too, like me. He came back from Russia too, and England. And I pinched him. I said, bros, who is coming down from this plane? That's what I told him now. I said, bros, who is coming down from this plane? I was pinching him. And he was like, my God. I said, yeah, because he couldn't see it. Then when I pinched him, I said, start looking and start seeing what I'm seeing. And he's like, wow. So I said, you know what? When I tell people that I came back with my son so that my son can be very grounded here, there's a reason. So that he won't be lost. Because that's what's going to happen to you people's children. Your children will go there and they won't want to come. It's too difficult. I have siblings, my siblings, for them to come back. Oh, Lord. Nigeria is too difficult. Nigeria is too difficult. That's what our people are becoming afraid. They don't want to come back. But yet there's so much opportunity, so much is going on. You think Jack Ma came here for accidents? This other guy just came from Google. You think he just stumbled here? I mean, come on now. What does that say? Do you see? They are coming here. And then yet we're not making our children have a level playing field where they can compete. So yes, you're right. We need to reach out to these our students in Unilag and Yabatech and COE and Lautech. Don't worry, we've not forgotten you guys. LASU. Everywhere. We need to reach out to them. No, we too. Ogun State, Ondo, Ekiti State, in Rivers State, in Bayelsa, Imo State. We need to reach everybody. We need to reach out. So when I tell people that, look, anything I'm doing, I don't think in Lagos. I don't think small. I think big. Because I see our children and I see what's at stake. My brother is bad though. I know they play. I came here how many years ago? I know how many Oyibos I saw on the plane then. There are more now. And it's only going to get worse. Because they've told them there's money here. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, guys.
Shala, sorry, let me just quickly say something.
You guys want us to go?
I just want to say something. We've talked about a lot of problems, and I think a lot of us here actually have some solutions to a lot of these problems that we're talking about. I had the advantage of being part of the NPower project. I don't know if you guys know about the NPower project. Okay, so I don't know if you have seen the NPower Teach. Has anybody seen that product? Okay, if you see the NPower Teach, I was part of people that organized a lot of the content that has to do with a company called Softcom. The NPower Teach has enough content, to be very, very honest with you. That thing has enough content to drive primary school education in Nigeria. And if every single teacher in Nigeria should have that. But the only problem with the NPower Teach is a federal government initiative. We are doing, it's 500,000 people. And out of the 500,000, there's about 200,000 going for Teach, some for agriculture, some for health, and some for finance, which has to do with taxes. But the value what I'm trying to say here is with the NPower Teach, the product that we have in that NPower Teach, that's why I was talking about collaboration. If we can drive that alone, because I know what we've put inside it. And I kid you not, if I show anybody that thing, I think you'll be able to agree with me. It teaches a teacher every single thing with videos, how to address students, how to understand students from primary school, how to learn, how to Google, how to go on Google, how to create an email account. It teaches every single thing. So this is already done. So hence I was talking about collaboration. There are things that we are doing in silence. A lot of us are doing things individually. And I'm still saying it again. We have to do things collectively. I know what I'm doing in education. But I can't drive it. Like I just talked about this thing. This thing, we spent about 5 months doing this thing. You guys don't know. And it will probably get to the hands of only 100,000 people and it will die there because it's with the federal government. But it is our product. Do you understand? And now I'm thinking about, because of policies, we are looking at, okay, we want to drive it around Nigeria, want to drive it state to state in state government, but it's hard. What I'm thinking about, I'm already talking to how we can take it to Ghana. That is my next level. Because it's in English. Do you understand? So that, you see, these are the things. That's what I'm saying. We have solutions to problems. That is not even our problem right now. The problem is, you're talking about policies. Another thing I want to quickly talk about is the policy of the public-private partnership. Now, one of the biggest problems we've had with universities, for example, like I said, I work with a lot of universities abroad. We have tried to bring in universities. I don't know if you guys know, but you know that a foreign university cannot establish in Nigeria. It's a policy. And these are people, I have a school that wanted to come into Nigeria with $150 million investment. I kid you not. $150 million worth of investment, and we're going to set up 5 campuses in this country. And I brought them into this country to have this discussion. And we even went as far as trying to raise a petition from the federal government, even from the Ministry of Education itself. No, I'm saying even someone from the Ministry of Education was working with me on drafting something that they would take to the minister and say, sir. No, not states. Do you understand what I'm saying? Exactly. That's another thing. Now, let me now tell you what we did. Let me tell you. I'm being very, very open now. Let me tell you what we did. We brought in another university again, apart from this one that wanted to bring in $150 million. These guys came and said, okay, fine. We are not going to give our degrees. So let's do it in this way. We are going to partner with the Nigerian government, right? So now that one kind of worked, but they did not partner with the federal government. They partnered with an entity. Do you understand? And you're going to hear about that university. They partner with an entity. I brought those guys into Nigeria. Do you understand? They partner, I would even say, they partner with the Navy because you're going to hear about it. So it's Navy Holdings and this entity. Do you understand? And now the Navy, now when we started that, we put it in Delta. When we got to Delta State, the people from this other local government said, no. Why will you take the university to this place and our people will not allow you to have rest? And I'm like, why? Then, because we had the Navy behind us, we use force. Now you have a university where people are supposed to learn, and there is the big Navy armored tanker for anybody that wants to mess up, fire you. That's the problem. No, I'm telling you how we had to get into this. Then we now had to go and sit down with kings and say, okay, your people will be okay, these people will be okay, we'll send your children to school. We had to do all that. Do you understand? So why I'm saying all of this is because I'm able to do all of this, obviously because of, first of all, God's grace, and also the fact that I was persistent enough. But I think if we go together, that I'm still really, really hammering on this thing. If we go together, because like I said, like this thing that we have now, this content thing for teachers, for NTeach, if we spread this thing across all schools in Lagos, even private schools don't have it. Because this thing will teach every single thing you need to know about starting up as a teacher. What you need to learn, cognitive understanding of children, how children relate, how children understand, different understanding methods, learning methods, all kinds of things. And it is covered. So this thing is done. So it's not even a problem we are trying to, we have solved the problem. But the thing is, how do we get it across? So.
Okay.
Thank you.
I actually want to wrap up. But let me allow you.
Okay, so I
1 minute,
I
please.
can just 1 minute. Yes, I am a curriculum theorist. So every time we talk about, yes, I'm Rhoda. Anytime you talk about solutions, yes, yes. Let me talk. So anytime we talk about solutions for education, I'm always thinking about that blueprint, that document that rewrites our story, that's capable of changing anybody who walks into that document and sees the guide that they need. A lot of people are misguided. True, it's not as though that Nigerians don't want to change. Nigerians want to change, but my very first solution is right there in the curriculum, and I will pick civic education because of what he said. For us, all of us to get into politics, you have to know what is your right. We don't know what our rights are, what social justice means. These are the kind of things we're going to be looking at, rewriting, reworking into the civics education. That's the very first place we begin. Of course, we match it with technology and make sure that our children are well-versed in that sense, so that they can use that as a social justice mantra to then project what their needs are. And of course, that's one of what you can call new literacy today. So new literacy includes digital education, civics education, and of course life skills, general life skills, creativity, and all those things. So we need to rewrite the document, and that's where we start from. And with all of us together, imagine me sitting down with all of you and all of your great ideas. I know the exact thing to do with everything you have said into a curriculum document. I just know the exact thing. And so all I need to do is just take what you've said, weave it into as many possibilities as possible. When you talked about language, when you're focused on a language and I smiled, we don't need to focus on 3 languages. No. We need to focus on everybody's language, whatever is indigenous to their community. That's a mode of communication. But English becomes an official subject that must be taught. So we're not saying that they will be taught in local languages for math, and science, civics, all of it, social studies, whatever, PE, whatever. But English is going to be there because that's the language that they used to use to do business. We have to make our kids think business. How do I sell around the world?
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. We thank you for coming here. Now, on behalf of myself and Bala Fanino,
Okay, yeah, what I want to say is, I won't take any time. Okay, let me say it not right now.
No, that way you take time.
All right. At the end of it all, it's obvious that if we solve the teacher problem thing, we would have made a lot of progress. So what I can say is, if we zero in the next phase, what we're going to do is to walk around the teacher thing. I don't know what your next plan is, and then from there, we can now take on other things. But from here, we can actually take on zero down on teachers. Yes, zero down on teachers, and then for the rest of the year, let's see what we can do. That way, we can collaborate. So we can take that, collaborate on it, and then we can make a lot of impact.
All right, thank you very much, guys. This is very, very interesting. We'll get back to you guys. We'll get back to you guys on everything that's happened here. We're going to post stuff on our Facebook page. We're going to send you guys documents, videos, and everything so that we all see what we've done here. But there is one more thing I want everybody to agree on. There's a pressing issue. LAUTECH. I'm thinking we can raise 10,000 match for LAUTECH. 10,000 students across the university in Nigeria for LAUTECH. We need to take something home from here. We need to take that anger home because we know these people are not doing anything with our resources. They are not going to help us. So let's take something here. Let this guy go back to LAUTECH and say, I met some people and they are thinking about this. They are planning this. We come together. It's very, very pathetic for a school to be closed down for 18 months. Okay, the Bible says the kingdom of God suffereth violence. Our violence taken it by force. So this is what we will do. I want every one of us to come on our Facebook page. I'll post this. We'll talk about it. We'll debate about it. It will be very, very glorious if from here we can liberate the school. I'll be very, very happy. All right, guys. Thank you very much for coming. I hope we've all have about that numbers exchange here. Kilo, do we have their contact? Okay, guys, it's a wrap for today. Come take pictures with us, please. Thank you.